Hello, everybody, and welcome to Poor Form, episode 104. My name is Cameron, and I'm here to introduce a special guest with my co-host,
Zane. I'm here too, guys. I'm here too. Don't worry. And then go ahead, Cameron. Introduce our
so we would like
guest.
to introduce everybody here to Niko Kala, a sculptor, an artist, a musician, an overall sick dude who's got some stories to share, and we're honored to have you on, Niko. Thank you.
Honored to be on, guys.
All right, let's kick this baby off. So for people who don't know, Niko, who you are or what you do, why don't we just start with the icebreakers, all right? Let's start with the icebreakers. Where are you from, my friend?
So I'm originally from Bay Area, California, and right now I'm currently in Prescott, Arizona. Moved out here about a year ago, so getting set up and just went full-time art. Still going with Iniquitous Deeds.
Nice.
And pretty much just, living the dream, I guess.
So for people who don't know who Iniquitous Deeds is, they're personally one of my favorite bands, but I'm guessing that a lot of people obviously don't know about brutal death metal and all that stuff. So Iniquitous Deeds is like a very technical, very fast-paced band with, guttural vocals and sick riffs, and it's a very dynamic, I don't know if we should dive into music stuff right out the gate, but no. I do have a couple of questions for Iniquitous later.
Absolutely.
In the podcast. So,
art always, it came much later. So it's like, it all started with music anyway. So it is definitely very important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you started in Bay Area. So, you moved out to Prescott, and then, you decided to go full time. How long ago? That was just like a month ago, right?
Yeah, like pretty much a month ago. Yeah.
Full time. So what does full time look like for a guy like you? Like sculpting and creating. Maybe we should let everybody know, what is it that exactly you make?
So basically, I make like 3-dimensional functional art. So, I'll do wall pieces and stuff, but the big thing for me is functional art, and the biggest thing has been guitar straps. And that's actually what led me into going full time, because, before I'd be grateful for anyone that would buy my art. But once I started doing the straps, they started selling out like crazy and all this stuff. And there was this demand, and that had obviously a lot to do with the whole Cannibal blow up, which we'll get into. But honestly, I'm only a month into this, and I'm diving into it. So I still have a huge adventure ahead of me to, I couldn't tell you too much right now as far as what full time is like. But basically, just like physical artwork. So sculpting in flexible materials. So I mainly work with like clay and latex. So that's, so it's flexible, it's bendable, it's durable. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's like sculptor kind of thing. So
Cam, why don't you bring up some of the stuff that he
we got some
makes.
stuff pulled up, some original pieces from Niko Kala. Again,
so you can
Niko Kala.
I believe it's Niko Kala Art on Instagram.
It's at Niko Kala Art on Instagram. Here
for
we go.
anybody
I'm pulling some stuff up.
For anybody that isn't watching on the pod or on Rumble, you can look him up on Niko Kala Art.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook. Just made a TikTok recently. You can just Google it; it'll pop up.
Yeah. So okay, this is a very early piece that you posted. This is from back in 2017. Yeah. So what are we looking at right here?
So first, before this one, if you could pull up the first post. Yeah, that guy right there.
Yes.
Because there's a whole pretty much not basic, but just a story behind this whole thing. So this I built, it says 2017 on that. I actually made that in 2015. And I had a blue tongue skink at the time, like a lizard. And I followed this YouTube channel called like Lizard Landscapes. And they were like, hey, here's how to like make a custom lizard cage that's pet friendly. I followed it like step by step, even like the painting techniques on how to paint it. So I wasn't really like artistically I wasn't even aware, because that's all styrofoam and it's like cutting it and gluing it together.
Now,
But basically,
how old were you? How old were you when you started
2015, this? That would be, so I was 23 at the time.
23. So 23 years old. Never really made any sculpting. Never really did
just
anything.
Random like drawings when I was a kid growing up and like tracing shit. Nothing really crazy. This was the first time I've done anything physical, and this wasn't even with like an art mindset. It was more like following a tutorial on YouTube.
Yeah, something to do, something fun. So, you loved your pet.
Yeah, something. Yeah, so I did that, and then a couple years later. You can pull up the ashtray now, the second post. So a couple years later, I met two of my best friends right now. Their names are Aaron Lee and Brent Isolde. And basically, I started hanging out with Brent, and then he came to my house. I had like Giger posters up and Alien. I'm obsessed with all that stuff, even before I did artwork. And he was like, dude, you'd love my friend Aaron. And so he had his friend Aaron come over, and I was like, they're talking about art stuff. I've been around musicians my whole life. So it's like I've never really had art buddies to talk about stuff like that. And I was like, oh, well, hey, the only real art thing I've ever done is this lizard cage thing. And I'll never forget, Aaron looked at it, and I was like, yeah, if I draw it, comes out like stick figures and all that. He's like, dude, you can make this. Like, you can do like physical art. And it's just ever since that comment was made, it was like a switch went off. And all of a sudden, me and Brent started he started coming out and hanging out. We would go to like Target and Michael's, and we would get this like kids air dry clay, like I forget what it's called, but it's like kids air dry, really cheap shit. And I just started like messing with it because I was like, so this piece actually took an alien head, like an alien bobblehead, and I just like pressed it into the clay, and then took the sheets of it and just kind of mounted it around like a bowl, and I took a face hugger toy, and that's what that is right there, is just pressing it into it. So this is before even I did like any kind of real sculpting. This is just like pressing shit into clay and just, fucking around.
And did you say,
and just...
Yeah.
Did you say that was 2 years later?
Yeah. So like I said, the lizard cage happened, and then nothing happened after that. I still had the lizard, living in the same cage 2 years later. And then we all hooked up, and then that's when Aaron made that comment, because I was saying, I can't, I'm the musician, I can't do anything artistically.
Oh, I see.
And then he was like, dude, like, if you could make this, you could do physical art. You don't have to draw. You could make background sets for action figures or something. It just really opened me up. Like, any of my musician friends wouldn't have been like, hey, you should do art. It just didn't come up. And so then I started doing the air dry clay stuff. My friend had a 3D printer at the time, and he printed little like predator heads and stuff. Those are in there. And I started like messing with painting. So yeah, that's kind of like how it all just sparked, it was just total butterfly effect shit, otherwise if that didn't happen and I didn't meet them, like, I don't know if I would be doing any of this today. Seriously.
Well, I do want to.
I'll come back to the art in a second. Zane, go ahead.
Well, I do want to say I was emphasizing your age because I think that there is a lot of younger people out there that may or may not listen to the pod, or maybe sometimes maybe you're older, but it seems to me like, hey, you're getting picked up by Cannibal a little bit. You're going full time, and you started sculpting when you really had. You hear all these stories of people being successful that started at 5, 12, 13. Yeah. You started at 25, and that to me, like, it's really good, and it's really good for people to hear, because you don't have to have it. There's such a pressure to be. You have to have everything figured out quick. You need to be, by the time you're 18, you got to have a plan. You got to be doing this. You got to be doing that. And like, sure, that would be ideal. That's ideal to have, but like, you can turn your life at any time. And it's even interesting that you said that like a lot of your inspiration just came from meting two people. And
absolutely.
Yeah, it's really important to get out there too and just meet people. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
That kind of leads right.
Keep some values on the pod. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it helps reassure people that it's never too late to really pick up a hobby. Like, even if you just wanted to do it as a hobby and not try to like make money off of it, it's still.
And that's exactly how it started, man. It was all about like, hey, I have these little Predator heads, this ashtray. It was all for like me. It was like, all right, I want to like decorate my house, without spending hundreds of dollars on original art. I could just modify fucking Halloween skulls and slap hot glue and shit and just like stamp shit into clay and make a little ashtray. That's how it all started for me. I never had any, and then keep in mind, there's no confidence when you just start like that. You're like, oh, it looks like shit. I don't know, let alone someone buying it. It's for yourself at first, and that gives you the comfortability to like push forward. You know?
I mean, my family still doesn't like hearing me play music. I'm in it for a long time. They still don't like hearing that shit. So it's like, you got to just like what you do and walk down the hall, and you'll never come into any doors if you're not walking down the hall. And the only reason that you walk down the hall is to enjoy it.
The support system you have is very important too, because like I said, those two guys I owe everything to, because along the way when I'm like, oh, that looks like stupid or this, they're like, no, like try doing this, or like, oh, that looks really cool, man. No, you're tripping. Like that was like a huge help to me, because I am extremely hard on myself. So I would say that little period, that first year or so, is like vital to have, especially if you're hard on self, to have some support, people that have experience, being like, no, dude, like keep going. Like you're doing good. That really helped, because I would have just been, I can say easily, if they weren't there, I probably would have gone to some, other avenue with it. Like, this all looks like crap. I just got to stick with music. I got to stick with what I know, It's so easy to fall back to that. But they gave me that like motivation, that friendly push to like keep me going at it. And that's like everything, man.
I'd say I've been following you for a long time, Niko, and you always kind of gave off the like the DIY guy thing, like
DIY or die, baby.
It seemed like you were just apt for that type of thing. And I mean, for me personally, I like to try to do most things myself, right? That, I think maybe that's is it just a guy instinct? I don't know. But like for me personally, woodworking was always one of my passions, even though that's something that I never tried to pursue as a career. I didn't want to be a carpenter, but I liked woodworking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love
it's extremely essential, dude.
Yeah. And, like art, music, just all this other stuff. I never really relied on like the top end of things, like I don't have a guitar that costs over $1,000, right?
Oh,
I usually stick lower budget and add on to the things that I like to make it
modifications, bro.
Yeah, modifications, right? So I'm trying to always be DIY as well. I think I derive some sort of sick pleasure out of it.
You know what I think it might also be is it's also, I think, a sign of like wanting to. It's more individual, like, uniqueness to it, because you're not just buying the Amazon desk, I'm no fucking woodworker by any means, but I always just grab plywood and 2x4s and build any fucking setup I want. Is literally it super clean and perfect? No, but I don't need that shit. You know what I mean? And it's cheap as fuck. So
I wonder if you guys would relate to this. The idea behind being clean, having a clean house or having things in order, is that you have control over your surroundings. So I wonder if you guys would relate to the ability to build things, customize things, modify things, is your ability to have control over the materials around you to suit it for yourself. Does that make sense?
Exactly. That's exactly it. Like, I'll give an example. The desk that I'm sitting at, I made with my hands, right? And it's only designed to fit in this space right here. It's a corner desk with a shelf up here, and it's the exact measurement of this wall over here, and it's perfectly designed for this space. It was perfectly designed to have. I have a large TV over here to my side, a place for my PC, the monitor, all this gear and stuff. It's literally perfectly designed for that. And there's a few things that it's like, like, is it gloss finish? No, I don't need that. I don't need that. I kind of like the look of the wood as is anyways.
Yeah.
It's stained though. I bet it's stained.
No,
yeah.
It does not stain. There's no rings on here at all. I can set my cold, wet drink on it.
When you stained it while you were making it, right?
Actually, I'm not. Well, I stained some of the pieces, some of the trim of it. I stained, but the actual tops of these boards were pre-stained. So
okay.
I didn't.
Hey,
it was
that
just,
works.
you know, because they're
Dude,
large pieces.
So fancy. That's so fancy, dude. Fuck, man.
It was free though. It was free.
Yeah,
the
that's
tabletops
nice.
were free. I took them. They were scrap, and I repurposed them. So
See,
I basically built
that's
this
key
desk
right
for
there, dude.
like just the parts. Like, you know, everybody's got screws laying around. I had wood screws.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine. That's taken care of.
Those are cheap
I think
anyway.
I just bought the. I just think I bought some brackets. That's it. That's like the only thing.
There you
The
go.
only expense, and then obviously time, cutting, getting everything
Yeah.
cut down right. So time is money, right?
Yeah. See, that's what's funny though, is like you're hella fancy with it. I literally just slap together some wood and I buy like the cheapest little can of black fucking house paint and I paint over it. You know why? Because like as you notice, there's like cardboard like taped to the tops of that shit, right? That's because
Yeah.
underneath that there's just like chunks of latex and paint. So I'll just like
Yeah.
scrape all that off and then repaint over all the crap with black paint. And I'm just like, oh, cool, it's new again, you know? Because I just know if I do some nice, you know, for a computer desk, that's one thing, right? But
Yeah.
like all my crafting, my workshop shit,
Yeah.
it's just like plywood, black paint. If it's not going to look black after a couple months. And then I scrape all that shit up, and then I paint it over with fucking black paint again. You know?
I've got like an 8-foot like workbench that I built too. That's at my parents' house in
Nice.
their garage, and it's banged up and it's sturdy as hell. Like
Yep.
we could all three stand on it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It really doesn't weigh that much. It's just the way that I designed it. I mean, it's just got tons of miter joints. It's not
Yeah,
going
there you
anywhere.
go. That's what's up.
But anyway, so the DIY thing, it's kind of a blessing and a curse. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I find myself putting things off a lot. Like if I see something for sale or something, I'll go, I can make that. I'll just do that whenever I get the time.
Absolutely.
And then
Just get
you
some
end up
fucking 2x4s and some plywood, dude. Fuck that.
yeah, and I mean, it also, I mean, it applies to a lot of things. Like I do all my, well, okay, I don't do all, but I do a lot of the work on my cars, and I always have. I like to be the one touching it, because you take it to the dealership sometimes, and you don't know what the fuck these guys
Oh
do to it.
god. Yeah.
Well, they charge
So
you
it can
money.
be a
That's what
blessing
I
and
know.
a curse when, you know, I fucking almost break all my fingers trying to put on new struts, you know, like it can be.
Or kill yourself with the
Or
fucking
kill
struts.
Yeah,
God,
exactly.
dude.
Roll
That's the kind
myself
of thing where I'm
over
like,
on-
okay, it sucks to pay for it, but at least I'll know it's done right instead of fucking risking my life.
Well, there is
Yeah,
something
yeah.
to it when you're driving. I've seen what I did. I did the brakes, so it's like
Yes.
when you take it to a shop and you're just like, oh, the brakes are done, I guess, and then you just start driving it, and it might feel a little better, but the confidence to be like, I put those
Yeah.
motherfuckers in there. I know they're
Yes.
good. And then when you're driving, you're like, this is a premium vehicle, baby. Like it changes
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, dude, shit.
Yeah, so back to the art specifically. So everybody knows like Tom Savini, Rick Baker, Stan Winston, like some of the GOATs. I'm just throwing some names out there.
Oh yeah.
Who are some other people that you draw inspiration from or that you follow online? And
So basically, what's funny about that is, you know, I loved horror movies and all sorts of horror art, and it's big thing obviously was before I was even really big into horror movies. It was, you know, because like I said, death metal and music
Yeah.
was a big part. Before this was a lot of death metal art. You know, quite particularly John Zig. Obviously, I mean that's all my
Absolutely.
tattoos. That's actually a big part of my art journey too. Is I was going out and getting tattoos from him when I was really first starting to do. That's actually a gift for John Zig, that face hugger medallion. So that's
Oh,
when I was
yeah.
first. Yeah, so I actually gifted that to him when I was getting my alien tat, because it was almost, again, a big thank you for like all the inspiration, and me and him talked a lot about artwork stuff, and you know I got really close with the dude. So John Zig, through death metal artwork, all of his covers and his tattoos was like huge, you know, because that's kind of like what I grew up with death metal wise is like the covers, like, oh, we got to get John Zig to do art, right?
Yeah, and, I'm a big fan of John Ziggs as well.
Oh yeah,
he's probably the GOAT for brutal death metal.
Yeah,
I would say that. My question, I guess, to you would be, what's your favorite John Zig cover art? Because he's prolific.
That's hard, dude.
Think about it and maybe give me an answer later at some point.
Because it's hard, because there's some that have that like almost emotional attachment to it, because they're albums that the art, the music, the vibe of it all is super encompassed together. You know what I mean? Like fucking, like Consume the Forsaken is just, it's pretty simplistic in some aspects compared to like his massive skyscape stuff. But I really like the creatures on that one. The Condemned, Realm of the Ungodly, that one is really cool. Super biased, but I really like what he did with ours, because I don't feel like that looked too much like any of the other pieces he's done. The incessant artwork.
Let me pull that up. Incessant hallucinations. I'm gonna spell it all wrong. Iniquitous Deeds. So yeah, let's pull this up.
There you go.
Here's a pretty good look at it. So yeah. Now, and it's funny because when I've spent a lot of time looking at this artwork, and I always go, like, who the fuck thought of this? You know what I mean? It's like, it looks organic and it looks...
Dude, I might have something to share with you guys, because we actually sent him a super shitty like Microsoft Paint sketch of like, hey, we want a DNA strand going through space with some fucking alien dudes. And like we sent the most embarrassing fucking shitty picture, and he fucking killed it, dude. We were like, holy shit, dude. Like
that inspiration goes a long way, though. That goes a long way.
True.
If you can just seed somebody, if you can just seed a real artist's mind, you can just seed it for a second. They can come up with a lot of shit. That's what that's what you're paying them for, baby. That's why they're the GOAT.
Yeah,
exactly, man. Yeah, no, he was really good with that. Anyways, I'll find it later. But so like I said, before I even dove into a lot of horror movies, younger, doing the death metal thing, that was the big thing, was like death metal artwork was like huge to me, right? And then obviously I got more into like H.R. Geiger's like probably the number one inspiration to me. I love Alien so much. I love all of his fucking work. That's a huge inspiration. And just all the other various, horror movies, obviously Hellraiser, Terminator, Predator, all the classic titles, and Stan Winston, definitely top of the list for me as far as effects go, and all the artists with them. It's insane.
And we're huge Hellraiser fans here. Huge Hellraiser fans.
Oh yeah. And my favorite personally has been and might always be Stan Winston. He is my favorite. Yep. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2008. So he's no longer with us, guys, but what he created that's on scenes, or like in movies that we watch today, I mean, it's permanent, right? He made a permanent impact. Whether people know it or not, this guy created some of the most elaborate and grand pieces. I mean, anywhere from those early, like, Terminator, where it's, a little, that's also like DIY, kicking in
absolutely
last minute, budget, all the way up to like, Jurassic Park, all the way up to, I think Iron Man, right, might have been one of his last contributions.
I think so, yeah. I mean, Predator too. That's an amazing story.
Amazing story.
That's an amazing story. What happened there?
I talk about it all the time on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
The $1 million suit.
Jungle. Yeah, it's the $1 million suit.
Yeah. Got hired and helped out with the thing on some of the effects on that, like all over the place, dude.
Personally, one of my favorites is Artificial Intelligence, the Steven Spielberg movie. That
dude,
was it's a very like I think the reason why that movie is so great is because of the time that it was made in, right? It was kind of as CGI was kind of starting to look better, but also they were heavily relying on puppets and actual physical mediums. So it was also very experimental, plus it's like Steven Spielberg, so it's like infinite budget, right? So they didn't really cut corners. So that's a big shout out.
Lord of the Rings, I think, is one of the best analogies I give people of where it's like you use practical where you can, and then you use the special effects and the CGI where you can't. And now I thought that was the perfect blend of both of those techniques to create like an absolutely amazing movie experience.
Yeah,
you know?
they gave that shit up with The Hobbit. They said, "Fuck that."
I watched that. I
s-
was like, dude, are you kidding me?
We're going
right now?
straight to the computer screen, baby. No more 200 horses shitting.
It was
Just
it
Gandalf
was
doing
a
like
letdown.
backflips over like the falling trails, like I'm
dude,
like, what the fuck is this?
Well, even that like pink cancer orc in the third one, dude. That shit's cool, dude. That guy looks disgusting. It's cool.
Let's not forget, dude, that Return of the King is an Academy Award-winning film, like best movie, movie, okay, which is crazy. Like, and I just actually watched an early Peter Jackson film last night called The Frighteners, starring Michael J. Fox. And it's like this old, like, it's not old, it's in the mid 90s, right? And I watch it and I go, I can't believe he made Lord of the Rings not that long after this. Because it is, it's not the greatest movie per se, but it's very experimental, right? It's also kind of like 96, very early CGI sequences. It looks chintzy. It looks like a fucking, it looks like a PS1 graphics at times. But it's got balls. That movie has balls. There's no denying.
Gotta respect that for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. I bring up Stan Winston because you've actually been featured on Stan Winston's page.
Unreal, man. Fucking unreal. Yeah, it was it happened recently again, which blew my mind again. But yeah, it was both of the xenomorph sculpts I did too, because they always have these creature sculpting contests or creature painting contests where they have like a blog and you can enter in your stuff, and it's worldwide. It's like, anyone can enter it. It's just very loose rules, and it's just crazy because they have a social media team, that like will choose pieces from there to advertise their contests. It's like about 8 to 10 people, and there's like hundreds and hundreds of entries. So the fact that like that caught someone's eye there and they decided to use that for an advertisement was just like, that was fucking unreal, man. That was a big high that day.
Yeah, huge congratulations to you for that, because I mean,
Thanks,
I'd be shitting my pants.
Oh yeah, big time.
I'm
like, dude, fucking Stan Winston, fucking kidding me, dude.
Yeah, and on Instagram, Stan Winston's they have a large following. It's a school, guys. It's Stan Winston School, which people pay good money to go and learn how to do special effects and learn from the best. And actually get their foot pretty much straight into the door of the movie business, right? Because that's what Stan Winston does. So, and
hey, I've met. We'll get into it, but remember I told you the Tim meeting Tim Gore.
Yes.
Because he was a part of Stan Winston. He works on Jurassic Park. He did Walking Dead, fucking all that stuff. That was a big part when I finally got into doing latex later on.
Yeah, so he kind of walked you through some new quick fixes and some new why don't you tell us about how you linked up with Tim Gore?
Yeah, so basically Tim Gore, I mean, I use literally like I just exclusively use all of his paints and their bloodline paints. Cool. So this was a big game changer because I didn't know shit about paint or anything art. Like I said, I just went to the craft store. I was like fucking red, brown, whatever from the cheap acrylic aisle.
Yeah.
And I was always struggling with blood color. So I was just like, oh, it's too pink. It looks fucking weird. And, of course, with paint, it's multiple different colors sometimes to make a certain hue to something. And so I just went on like Amazon. I was like, there's got to be some kind of fucking like blood paint, So the first thing that popped up was like Tim Gore's, blood paint or whatever, like the blood red or whatever. So I bought and it's funny, I actually have, I don't know where it is. I still have the same bottle from when I first bought it because it was a big one. And this was in like 2018 or something. But that's where I first saw that name, Tim Gore, right? Because it was like, oh, this is cool. It's like catered to special effects gore shit, you know, and I looked into it and there was like a whole line of paints, injury ochre, deep bruised purple, you know, diseased umber. Yeah. And they literally, so I looked into it. He designed it because I think he was sick of mixing his paints to get the colors he wants. So he made his formulas with Createx colors. And then now he has this whole lineup. Whenever he did his special effects, he brought his whole kit with him and he had every color in the book he needed ready to go. And so basically, you know, that piqued my interest. I already had kind of art stuff going at the time. And so I looked stuff up on Instagram. I looked more into him. And then I saw, like, you know, his profile, what he had worked on. I'm like, damn, dude, this guy's a fucking legend. I'm like, this is cool. So I started buying more paints and all that. And then I started like replying to his stories and stuff and talking to him. And he saw some of my work and he was just like, oh, yeah, that's really cool. And believe it or not, we just like kind of goofed off and started sending each other voice messages out of nowhere. And and so basically we kind of hit it off. And I was like starstruck that he would even looking at the DMs of some random fucking dude messaging him. And I was tagging him and tagging like Bloodline paints when I was using that stuff because I was so stoked on it. And so I had asked him quite a couple questions in those DMs because I'm just, you know, I'm always just a sponge for information because this stuff that I do is not just like canvas on with a paintbrush, you know, like there's so much science involved in all of this stuff. And so basically I was like, hey, I'm looking to paint my first like latex stuff and, you know, all this. And he was just like, yeah, like, you know, it's hard to talk on this. Like, here, just give me a call. You know, he just gave me his number and I just called him up and we just hit it off right away. He's a super nice, crazy, goofy dude. And, you know, I'm super goofy as well. So we just hit it off and basically established that contact. So when I did my first experiments with latex, which was right around the same time I was talking to him, I was like, really struggling with it because I was trying to follow a tutorial on YouTube of how to do it without doing all these other crazy methods. And I was just failing. I was trying to do the same techniques I did on resin and stuff that's rigid, you know, and then on flexible stuff, you got to change your methods a little bit. And so I basically came to him with like, dude, I'm defeated right now. I'm trying to do latex. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And he was like an angel. He's like, brother, don't worry. I'm going to call you. I'm going to show you the method. And you could do all your, you know, washes and all that. And it, you know, and so he got on like Skype with me for like a couple hours in my garage back in California. And he taught me like his movie making rubber cement method of painting with his paints. And that was just a legendary fucking moment because he was just
up close.
I was there taking notes. Yeah, dude. And
that's cool.
He's like, you know,
it's cool that
I'm like mixing it on the camera, and he's like, no, add more gas. I'm like this. He's like, yeah, so that's the ratio. And I'm like, damn, dude, like this is awesome.
It's just cool because, you know, it's by, you know, being kind of, you know, just a general nice guy that's, you know, honest and not creepy and over asking for shit can actually get you a long way, right? People are usually not stonewalled off. Like, people don't usually not want to, you know, connect or share information. Especially, it seems like in a pretty niche art form where it's like not a lot of people know how to do this, right? This is a really difficult medium, right? And, you know, for him to just, you know, invite you in like that and show you around that, I think that's kind of indicative of, you know, a lot of it seems like the art, the sculpting art is, you know, a very positive thing. Like, people have positive attitudes. It's difficult, man. It's like it's difficult. Well, yeah, it's difficult, but at the same time, the feeling of accomplishment must be exponential. Right, because
what I'm saying with difficulty, because it's so difficult, there's more of a lending hand people are willing to give because they understand the pain you go through when you sculpt something. You make a mold and you destroy your sculpt in it, and the mold is fucked, and then you lost everything. You got to redo it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot more stressful than traditional just painting on a 2-dimensional surface.
How long? You know, how long do you think it takes to make a mold? Like, if you were to,
dude, it's like It depends on complexity, if you're what plaster you're using,
So
setup
let's pull
times.
up
It's just
I'm going to pull up a piece then, and then we can break down from that piece. I've got one pulled up right now, which is the first one that was featured on the Stan Winston School page. So here, let me switch over so here we go.
Okay, so that's an original sculpture. So there's no molds made of that. That's rigid.
So yeah, no molds, but let's just say for this piece, because I still wanted to showcase it here a little bit. So what are we talking? Start like finished, start to finish.
Okay, so like you talking about processes or time here, because there's it's a lot to unpackage.
Also, wait, how big is this? So
this is about 11 by 14, something like this big. The frame is, so that if you imagine that frame, that picture frame right there is about 11 by 14, I believe, something like that.
So it's like a sheet and a half of paper, essentially, for anybody that's listening.
Yeah. I mean, it looks it looks extremely intricate. You know, it seems like this took weeks to me.
Oh yeah,
you know
that took me. Because keep in mind too, you know, when you say something takes 1 month, 2 months, or whatever, you have to consider it's like right now I'm full time, right? So that means I'm dedicating that many hours. This is when I was working full time, like doing delivery and all that shit. So it's like what free time I have outside of job, music, or whatever. But I fucking busted my ass living almost a double life doing, you know, trying to balance everything.
A triple life.
Yeah, basically. So this right here took me about a month and a half, 2 months maybe, because I really took my time on it. I really did. This was actually a commission piece too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, nice. That's a commission. Yeah, that's in Las Vegas right now at a buddy's house. So this turned from an idea. It's funny, the story of this piece was I wanted to do sick. That one's a cool shot. I wanted to do like a kind of a creature coming out of a pod, and I've never thought of doing a xenomorph before, but as I was sculpting it, I kind of was like, and I told him too, I was like, what do you think about me just doing like my own version of a xeno? And he's like, fuck yeah. So I was like, okay, and I just went for it. And so this one is, just to give some background, this one's made of polymer clay, not entirely. The tubing around it is plastic conduit that I paint with metallic paints to make it look more metal. And then the actual like pod, the egg sac thing, the xeno head, all that's sculpted in polymer clay. And so you basically start, I have a little behind the scenes thing on my Instagram at the very top of the feed. I don't know if you want to pull that up. That would be kind of cool to look at, because that'll kind of show you some of the process. So just scroll all the way to the top. And then can you, look at the story thing, go up more.
Oh, highlights,
making of. Yeah, so that's the Xeno.
Great.
That's that sculpture right there.
Oh, wow.
So it starts with like, you basically make your, because you can bake in layers with polymer clay, which is really useful. So it's like just rough shaping out. Like imagine, here's the biggest thing with sculpting is there's so much anticipation that you can't sketch really. So like with this, I don't really sketch anything. I just like I have an idea in my mind. And then once I get, that's mainly like, you can see the foil there. I'll sculpt the rough shape and foil first. Then I'll start layering the clay on, and then I'll start being able to visualize like, oh, here's where the talons will go. Here's the little part where it's going to burst out of the egg sac thing. And so you really got to like build from the ground up when you sculpt like this, because it's just a lot of anticipation.
This is really cool right here, because we're really seeing like, for me personally, I would be doubting myself every fucking step of the way.
Well, look at what I say there, dude. I was just like, oh, it's next was making the alien not look fucking stupid. So I'm there and I'm like looking at the shapes. I'm like, this looks like a dumb, like retarded whale or some shit. It was so hard to like, oh man, is this gonna look cool? Because there's so many times I'm sculpting something and I'm like,
oh my god,
no, let's do it again.
Wow. I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. I can totally understand that.
So at this stage, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you have like, you see what you're starting, but you don't see the finish line. You're like so far from the finish line, you don't know what it's going to turn out to be, and that's where all of that's where all the skills come in.
Yeah,
obviously.
Would you say you got like
the trials and error?
Would you say you got like 40% of it in your head before you start? Maybe.
I try to keep it fairly loose, because I find if you attach yourself too much to an idea, then you'll block yourself from really kind of like because it's this weird thing where half the time when I work on stuff, especially sculpting, half of it's making moves and the other half is just fucking staring at it and looking and like visualizing, oh, would these veins look stupid like this or would they look cool? And then putting it on and then realizing like, no, that looks dumb, and then ripping it off. So it's like this weird balance of having an idea, but a loose enough idea that you're not blocking yourself from something that could potentially be really cool,
Makes sense.
So I try to keep a very open mind when I sculpt.
That's a great way to put it. I'd say a lot of people who are into anything artistic, that's probably a good approach to doing anything artistic, is keeping an open mind, let mistakes happen, because sometimes you can really find gold in mistakes. That's happened to me 1,000 times
billion, dude.
playing guitar. Like, it's ridiculous. Or playing piano. It applies to so many things. I'd like to mention also what's really cool about what you do, Niko, is that you're engaged in a form of art that doesn't require a computer chip of any sort.
Perfect, now, dude. It's so nice. That's got to be so nice.
It is nice. And now, obviously, an acoustic guitar is an acoustic guitar, but that's some of what I play. That's like 20% of what I do is acoustic guitar, but the rest of it, I'm plugged into all this shit. I need an outlet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess in some cases, if you need, a dryer.
Oh, I need electricity, buddy.
Yeah, you need electricity for this.
Air compressor, hair dryer, fucking.
Yeah, it's not quite knitting, but, knitting is also another thing. Like, knitting and sewing is also another thing that I have great appreciation for, because it's so time consuming. And again, it's like you can go into it with an idea of what you want to do, but once you start lacing, shit might change on you, right?
Yep.
And so
sculpting's a good thing too, because there's been many times the power goes out and I can literally just get I have those emergency little pop-up lights or whatever, and I can I had that back where I was living before this. The power would go out a lot during the summer, and I'd literally just pop open the light and just sculpt, and I'm like, this is awesome.
That's cool. And then you get cool lighting on it too while you're sculpting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've got a couple of pieces right here next to me, Niko, that are original pieces. And we're going to do a little comparison, okay? Because one of these pieces, now the first piece I'm going to show, I've shown on the podcast before. We have this cool magnet, right? But the magnet's not on the back, but it was made to be on a fridge magnet. Now, this is a test paint, but still, looking at it, I'm trying to get a nice view for people if you can see it. So basically, if you're listening to the podcast, what this is, it's like a pus-filled, veiny eye with a little bit of biomech here at the top, like some of that conduit, like you were talking about, and then we've got some pores, some really open, putrid looking craters. I'm trying to describe it as best as I can. So we're going to compare that. All right, this is a test paint. We're going to compare this with a finished, authentic piece. Okay, here we go. Here's the 8 out of 8. So
yeah, that's a little bit better.
Looking at the difference, we got test paint. I really like the way this one turned out because it kind of changes color as the light works around it. I don't know.
This one's got kind of baby.
It's got to my naked eye, it's very purple and pink. But it's actually kind of harder to see in this light.
There's quite a few colors in there. I'd say maybe about 5 or 6 colors.
So it's similar in the way that it's got the same structure as the test paint, right? So can you explain?
Yeah, it's all from the same mold. So
it's all from the same mold, but since each piece is hand painted,
Yeah.
you get a little bit of variation, which is what's
Right.
really cool about this type of art, right? So everybody kind of has, like, if you're purchasing this type of artwork, you're getting something that is exclusive. Nobody else.
Yeah.
This can't be an NFT, bro. This can't just be like the red Bored Ape. You know what I mean?
No.
This is, and listen, I hate NFTs. I think it's a scam. I want to talk about AI and NFTs at some point with you. But so for the people listening, it's from the same mold, but I don't know. Could you maybe explain why this piece, in your opinion, Niko, is better than your test paint? Because they're both sick. They're both sick.
I'm extremely meticulous about what I put out. So it's like, that's why if I put behind the scenes stuff or stuff like that, it's usually of like the molding or casting or any of that stuff. It's never really the test paints, because it's just, I want to put out what I want people to see as finished. So that's something where it's like, I was like, it's cool, but like, I'm testing out, because that's my first ever silicone piece, and silicone is a pain in the fucking ass of a material to work with if you're trying to make a finished piece. However, if you're trying to make master castings or molds, it's beautiful. So
it's very solid.
So what's interesting, Cam, is that I don't know if maybe in the future certain things, but I'm not really going to work with silicone much. I can say that with certainty.
Really? Well, that's cool. That kind of leans into a question I was going to ask you. What your favorite materials are, or what, like, as a sculptor, what your favorite materials are. Specifically though, I would like to know which materials you wish you could work with, and what you never want to work with again. I want to know those two extremes.
Okay, so what I want to work with and what I'll never work with, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like what you want to work with, like, meaning like stuff that's probably like, maybe you want to work with ice, like fucking Zane used to do.
Ice chainsaw sculptures.
We could talk about that too. Zane used to work for an ice sculptor, bro.
That shit was so
Shit,
stupid.
except for carry huge fucking blocks of ice around.
I got fucking fired for being a shithead. It is what it is.
But we'll have to talk about this post pod. But there's actually a really cool story about.
Can't wait to hear it.
I mean, I guess you could say it on the pod, but I don't know. It was weird, but
What, me? My story? Oh, I'll say anything about that. Those motherfuckers. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Dude, so Zane, tell them about the private event shit that you like. It was like some eyes wide shut type shit.
Oh, dude, it was just it was some like upscale. You go into Seattle, right? You take this car or whatever. There's like everybody's loaded up. Everyone's like, let's look good. We're going to get in there, set this thing up. And we're going to check on it every hour or so. And then we're going to get out of here. And we like go up to like, dude, it's got to be like, if it's not the top floor, it's the floor right under the top floor where there's like roof access. I go up this with like weird, like teeny little elevator, like for it's like almost a dumbwaiter. That's how small it is. And we roll it out and there's just a lot of really, really rich people. I guess the people that are buying ice sculptures, like they probably put 20 hours, like working hours into it, and somebody who's been doing it all of his life, overseeing. So one dude would do the chainsaw. He would do like the form basically. Mm-hmm. And then another guy would come in and do the finish work. So the older guy that was more experienced, he had all the chisels and all the specific stuff he wanted. After he got the form down, he would work like 6 hours, maybe 12 hours and finish up the rest. And we go up in there and it was just weird. It was just kind of weird. It was a weird vibe. I went up there, set it up. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It was literally like one of the only times I ever did a delivery like that or whatever. But all I know is that those guys must have been rich because once they got it there, it didn't break. Everything went well. They checked on it once or twice, made sure it wasn't going to melt too fast. And then they were like, all right, let's get out of here. I was just hanging out in the alley watching the fucking van for the rest of the time. But
Weird.
after that, when they were on the ride home, it was like, oh, they must have been really rich because they were like, oh, they liked it. This is good. This is good type shit. I was like, oh, okay, guys. Like
When Zane initially told me that, he was like, I'm pretty sure they were up to no good. These rich
Yeah, I was
people.
like, were they wearing the like masquerade masks and shit?
no, but they were wearing like middle-aged prom. This was middle-aged prom. You know what I mean? Like
the fuck?
they were wearing like sequin dresses and shit. You know what I mean? Like not
Weird.
I wouldn't say that it was up like if you're doing a modern look, it's like black, tight, you know,
Yeah.
like that type of look. They were doing they had sequins. It was a little there was a theme, but I didn't know what it was. But it was like prom-y, but like little sequins, little this, little that. This guy is. It was weird. And then, you know, they fired me next week because I was talking shit. Dude, they had you had to work in a freezer, right? Because
yeah,
it's
that's
ice.
fucked, dude.
So I was working in like a 28-degree freezer or whatever in the middle of summer. I had to like wear all this shit. And they had a modified saw for bones. They had a bone saw. And it was like one of those hacksaws or whatever. And they pulled the guard off of it. So there's basically, and I had to wear gloves because I'm in a freezer. So I'm not stupid. I know that you're not supposed to wear gloves with this shit. You're not supposed to pull guards off shit. And they're just telling me, I've got like a probably like 18 inches of 2 inches by 2 inches of a block of ice. And you just got to make like pretty much every 2 inches, you got to make a incision because they're going to turn these into balls. So what they would do is they'd have two heated blocks and you would put it in the block and it would melt it into an ice ball. And so I had to make like hundreds of these. And they would just tell me, hey, go faster, go faster. You got to go faster. Like, and I was just like, dude, listen, I like music. I know how valuable these 10 digits are. These things are everything. You lose one of these, man. You're done. You lose a tone. You lose your ability to like, it's a lot. So I was like, dude, I am not going faster. This is already sketch.
Working with no guards and gloves on fucking table saws and shit and band saws. Fuck.
And
no.
I'm not gonna lie.
You are tripping.
I'm not gonna lie either. I was doing a decent job. Like I'm not trying to cap and be like, oh, you know, I was doing a great job. I don't know what they were talking about. I get that they wanted me to move a little faster, but it was not unreasonable speed. It was not like I was going super slow.
Yeah,
and these guys were
in
insane.
A freezer.
These people were fucking insane. And it was a family company, and I was the only one not in the family. Okay, a little weird.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
It's gonna be there's a meeting happening. Zane, can you leave?
No, I mean, hey, when
family meeting, leave.
Dude, the day they fired me, everybody acted like they didn't know shit. The guy hurt his back, and he had me do all the heavy lifting, and then said, "Hey, checks out front." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
My God, dude!
But I was like 19 or 20, and my chin was wiggling. I'd never gotten fucking fired from anything, even though I was just got done talking shit. I was like, I went and cried in my car, bro. I ain't even get a cab.
Fuck.
It is what it is. And then I listened to fucking Alice in Chains on the way home, bro. In my 3-colored Jeep. I had 3 different colors on that Jeep of green.
Love, hate, love.
No, it was Jar of Flies. It was Jar of Flies.
Oh, okay.
On cassette.
That makes sense.
On cassette.
Yep.
Ooh,
there you go.
baby, that's cold, man. That's cold. I will say though, you gotta have some ball, like. You have to have some balls to sculpt ice because you can put so much. I mean, you're getting paid, but you're putting so much work into it only for it to literally turn into a puddle no matter what.
Yeah.
None of that shit is
that's
permanent.
Crazy. That's crazy.
You got to have a crazy mindset to be in that business.
Yeah.
So wait,
is there cake sculpting or some shit?
Is there a medium that's like too expensive for you to do? I have to imagine that there's something.
That's kind of what I was asking. That's kind of what I was asking. Like, if it's too expensive, what would you want to though? Like
Yeah,
obsidian?
this is, I know, right? No, I want to get into, that's the thing, dude. I want to get into doing like metal casting. I think that would be really cool. And you have to get really good at sculpting wax. There's other ways of doing it, but that's the easiest because you just basically pour the metal into it and melts all the wax into it's like making a mold, but you're pouring it into the actual sculpture, and by melting it, then you make your master. I don't know too much about it, but I'd love to learn that medium of metal casting, and then be sick for making like pendants, anything, just like a fucking statue of a sculpture or something out of metal. I think that'd be awesome. And then, I think that can be cheap, but it depends on the grade of metal you work with. But again, I don't know shit about that. But as far as like flexible materials goes, it's usually between latex and silicone. Like those are the two big, kings of the whole thing. And silicone is like 3 times as expensive as latex. So when I'm trying to, like you were mentioning earlier, how like I have like molds, it's like my original sculpture. It's the same sculpture, but each one is hand painted, right? Even if it's the same paint job, it's all done 10 times, me painting each one.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I can offer it at a better price than if I did silicone, where just the material cost is going to jack that shit up. And it's such a finicky material because silicone will only stick to silicone. And if there's even a layer of your hand grease in between that shit's just going to delaminate right off. And that's why that test paint I did that you have, I was having problems getting paint to stick because I kept touching with my hands, which with latex, it's forgiving. It really didn't matter. And with silicone, even just the smallest amount of oils in between it can delaminate. And it's fucking super expensive. And it's more durable in certain ways, but it's not as durable in other ways. Latex is like a natural rubber, so it's gonna rot if you take care of it. It can last for a long time, obviously, but that will eventually rot, right? But not till like years and 30, 40 years later.
I don't know, because the story, the famous Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween story with the original mask. So they wrapped the first movie, right? And for people who don't know, Halloween was originally supposed to be an anthology. It was going to be called, they were going to throw a blanket on it. It was going to be called Halloween. And then each year they would release a different film that was just Halloween themed, right?
Yep.
But since the movie was such a success, basically the producers were like, we have to do a sequel. And John Carpenter was like, fuck no, I'm not doing a sequel to this shit. I got rid of everything. All the like the set pieces, all the fucking mask one of the producers took home, right? And so what happened to the mask is that she took it home and she smokes a shit ton of cigarettes inside of her house, right? And she keeps it like stored in a really poor area. And what happened is some of the paint actually started wearing off of the mask. And by the time they went to go shoot Halloween 2 with that original mask, it looked so much different. It was, it was deteriorating slightly. And the movie, if people are familiar, it's literally set the night of, it's the same night, right? It's all one night of Halloween. So, and then they had a different guy in the mask, and he had a bigger head. So Michael Myers just looked different and kind of a little shitty. It was not the best, but like that's just one of those things where it's like you have to take extra care of something like that. It needs to be stored in the right place, and not exposed to dust and fucking heavy smoke.
Well,
mainly the sun too. The sun is a big one.
The sun, right?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know why silicone is so much more expensive?
Just because it's like I said, latex is like a natural rubber, so I think it's easier to make, where silicone is just straight up like a advanced chemical. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So it's much more of a scientific. I forget what latex actually comes from. Some plant, I think. But to what you said about the paint, this is an interesting bit to add in there, is that the painting of latex has come a long way since then, because people back then, like that, people were experimenting with all sorts of shit. Sometimes people were just slapping acrylic paint right onto latex, right? And that shit will crack and peel, right? If you don't seal it right. So that's
hey,
why.
Let's try to watercolor this thing.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're going for that effect. I mean, some people do it on purpose, but that's why with what Tim Gore was teaching me was the rubber cement method using a thinner such as naphtha or white gas. And it's basically camping fuel. And it's basically, you have the solvent, right? And then you have the glue. So rubber cement is actually a latex based glue. And what you're doing is you're melting down the rubber cement to an airbrushable clear coat. And what you can do is you can actually use acrylics, but you're using that spray as a chemical bond, because what happens is that thinner will bite into the latex with that rubber cement, and it's latex, and latex sticks to latex like nothing else. And when you're like painting, like I'll do a layer of paint, right? And I'll base it first in the rubber cement coating, and then I'll do that, and then it sandwiches it chemically into the latex. So that's why I can bend it, stretch it, and all sorts of shit, because you're actually like pushing it into the material. Whereas what a lot of people will do will take like cheap latex house paint, shit like that, and they'll lather it on, and it's a good way to do it. But if you're not mixing that with the same mass making latex that the piece is made out of, then it won't bond correctly. And that's why I'm telling you guys that this shit has been so many years of failure, fucking up, shit peeling, shit cracking, shit falling apart, because you have to figure out what's going to last, what's going to be durable, because like for the guitar straps, for instance, I know they're pretty penny, but I fucking bust my ass to make sure the glue sticks, that it flex, that the paint doesn't chip, that the fucking everything is good on it, So it's a huge process. It's crazy. Yeah, there's some of the straps.
Oh yeah. No, these are sick, man. These are a hot seller for you. So.
Oh yeah, like, that's the reason I'm going full time, straight up, is the straps.
Yeah, dude, these ones are sick right here.
I can do this. I have this.
Oh yeah, you got
I
something.
have that exact one right here, actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so there's one of the straps right there. Shit lighting.
So yeah,
in here,
like look at the durability of this thing.
Flexible. This thing ain't gonna crack. That paint ain't just gonna fall off. It's sealed in with clear coat that's flexible.
It's just
And,
funny
It
because,
almost looks like leather. It almost looked like
It's on leather. So I use a leather guitar strap, and then I take a casting. Like, here's a raw casting. Here's a raw latex casting, not even trimmed yet. Right out of the mold. And so I'll take this, trim it up. And then I get, I buy these, like, they're good quality, like, leather straps in bulk. And then I'll glue them onto these guys. And then, that's basically the process. Not the process, but the basic, equation. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because you can't have that shit snapping while, a fucking Cannibal Corpse is on stage,
Yeah. And here's the thing. Even if, like, let's say the glue started to fail over the years, it started peeling up, right? That's an easy fix. And my focus, like, heavily went into this paint job needs to stick and needs to stay. It's not going to just delaminate, fall off over eventually. So even if something comes unglued a little bit, that's a super easy fix, and it'll go right back to its original state. The whole point is that you put clay on that, put anything rigid, obviously, it's just going to crack and break and, all that.
Absolutely.
So that's why when I jumped into latex, that opened so many fucking doors in terms of functional art. And functional art, again, like I said, is the reason why I'm going to be able to do this full time. And I have plans to do, I've done chokers before, bracelets. I want to fuck with wallets, women's wallets. Like, it's endless when you enter the flexible medium.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That you can fucking bring out in public.
Exactly.
I gotta be honest. My favorite one of what you do. I love the wall switches, dude.
The light switches?
The light switches,
dude.
those are so
Absolutely.
cool,
I'm going to be working on some 2-gang ones soon.
Let's go, dude.
Oh, wow.
When I saw those,
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I'm gonna be coming to you for one, because when I move in, I'm gonna move into some apartment or whatever. I'm taking that bitch right off. I ain't asking anybody. I'm not talking to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm just, hey, I got a screwdriver, baby. I'm taking that bitch off and I'm slapping one of those on. I don't care who comes over. What is this? Good. I don't give a. I think it's so cool because it's an underlooked thing. A wall switch, like, hey, we see them every day. You see wall switch,
Yeah.
and even the electrical outlets. You see those all the time. You don't think nothing of it, but every time you walk into a room and every time you leave a room, you look at it every time.
Yep.
There is not actually that many things in your room that you will for sure look at every time you go in and out. So I think it's like one of the best. As far as art is concerned, it is guaranteed to catch somebody's eye. It's guaranteed. Even if somebody comes over or if they go into your bathroom, oh, dude, in the bathroom, it would be even better. Because
that's where I have mine, is in the bathroom.
Because every time you're looking for the wall switch, every time you go into someone's bathroom, it's never well lit. It has never has open lighting. And dude, it's just a nice surprise, and people will use your bathroom, and I think it's like the best.
Imagine feeling it too, and then for instance, this cannibal light switch. Like, are those fucking maggots? What the fuck? Oh, that's the light switch plate.
To me, I'm somebody that would have a mask in my house all the time, like just up. You know, I never really was into that sort of thing until I had a buddy whose dad worked on movie soundtracks. And he had dummies up 24/7. I was like, dude, you literally have like mannequins in your house just standing. A little creepy walking around at night. That is a little creepy. But I got an appreciation for it. Slight customization. But like, yeah, these are so. I think they're so cool.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah, the one I'm gonna work on right now, I'm gonna really try to do like you've seen my two xenomorphs or whatever. I want to try to do not like a full one, but like the front, like kind of grin and first part of the dome at the top of the switch, blending into some biomech stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do after that. But yeah, this one you have pulled up, that's a pretty historic fucking
it is historic. That's why I've got it pulled up. I want you to
that's how we can gateway into it, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know. This is when you started working for Cannibal, kind of officially, you know.
So this was when. So I could just kind of sum up the story here. So
yeah, sum it up.
So I had done. If you want to go back to it's around the same time period here. There's Skin Faces. Yeah, over there, those guys. Those are my first Skin Faces. Yeah, there's the plates for Zane.
Yeah, those are sweet.
Thanks, man. Go to the Skin Faces, like, before that.
Oh, whoops. Yeah.
Yeah, so these ones, there's like the middle of a little fucking horror movie shot I did in that video. That one was a lot of fun.
Let's see this.
Yeah, that one's cool.
I remember you sent this video to me, bro.
Oh, I did? Shit.
You're like, hey, I just edited this sick thing, and I watched it, and I was like, for a second, I was like, dude, what? I was like, those are good looking, dude. Like, those looked real for a second. I was like, Jesus. He's all watching the blood in the sink.
Fucking garage shit, dude.
Yeah, it was definitely creepy. I was like, what is my guy up to late at night? What the fuck is this? But no, I obviously have a deep appreciation for stuff like this.
You should see like my roommates, because I was at a house at the time in the garage late at night, just like coming out to the outdoor fridge or wherever. And I'm just there like upside down with like filming these things like spinning. They're just like,
look what I made.
Yeah, dude. It's
look what
insane.
I made.
But
yeah, I can only imagine what your parents think about this. Like, oh, what is so? They're like, oh,
they're used to it now, man.
And then your mom's probably all like, he makes skinned faces. Elaborate.
He wants to have his
realistic.
He wants to have his own one day.
Money.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, so I bring this up because basically, like, right around the same time I was posting these guys, I think it might have been the second batch. Either way, it's the same design. It's my first skin face, not my first skin face, the second one. But so I had all this like fresh on my page, and I saw like Rob Barrett's Facebook profile. And it's one of those things where they're like a high caliber musician where everybody's trying to add them with the whole Max Friends thing on Facebook. They're like, yeah, whatever, I doubt it. And I just clicked, add friend because I was like, fuck it. And then to my surprise, like the next day, I see it's like, Rob Barrett, accept your friend request. And then he started like liking all my skin face pictures, like 4 or 5 posts or whatever. And I was like, holy shit. Like, not only did he accept it, he's like engaging with my shit. He like likes it. So I naturally like reached out and I told him like, hey man, like that's a huge honor that you even like my shit. I'm like, can I send you a light switch plate or something? Like you're obviously a fucking huge inspiration and like a major influence on like death metal as a whole, being in Cannibal and all of his work, with all the other bands and Malevolent. Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, let me
Solstice, dude. Solstice.
Oh yeah,
so
Solstice too. I can't leave that out. Fuck yeah.
So sick.
So basically, I was like, told him about the light switch plate, and he's like, cool, man. I'll let you know if it fits in the jam room. And then I was like, the fucking Cannibal jam room, dude.
Dude. Yeah, right.
And he was like, yeah. And then he goes there and he sends me a picture of it, and it's like the double gang one. I only had the single ones at the time. He's like, oh man. He's like, yeah, it won't fit, but let me know. Let me know if you don't get any that are of this style, and we'll put it up. And so basically I was like, do you want me to make you guys a custom Cannibal Corpse one? And he's like, you'd be willing to do that for us? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I would. Are you kidding me? And so that whole thing was born. And a little bit of a background on this, I wanted to make something based off of, influenced by an album artwork, especially an album that Rob played on. So I was like, let me do Vile. Yeah, because it has like the propped open like Clockwork Orange fucking eye, and then it has all the maggots and shit. So I took that and basically designed like a light switch plate for it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
great album, by the way.
And
it is a good album.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, dude, we're good. We don't make money, baby. That's the play, baby.
We spend money.
Hey, it costs money to be free.
There's like the dead mutilated dick on that one, like with all the maggots.
So our video exclusively goes on Rumble now, and so Rumble doesn't have guidelines like that.
You're good on there,
like YouTube does. We're off YouTube now. Fuck YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, seriously.
They won't even suggest us to anybody because we say fuck in the first 10 seconds of the podcast. Literally, you can't even make money off that shit anymore.
Hey, can I actually, guys, can I interject really quick? I have something useful maybe for the viewers and maybe for you guys too.
Okay.
It's a YouTube workaround. Recently, Google stock has gone down 11% in one day, so they decided to start making it so that you can't use Chrome ad block or else it'll literally stop the video playback for YouTube. So I had a thing. I do not have YouTube Premium. I don't do anything like that. And I've always used Google ad block, and I have never watched an ad on YouTube in my life. Just using that.
Oh,
now,
baby, it's over.
They caught on to that. And they said, and this is probably happening to a couple people, maybe some listeners right now. In the last week, it says you have 3 more videos before you need to disable your ad block, or else our video player will not work for you anymore. But there is a workaround. Wow. So if I open Google Chrome, if I open YouTube on Google Chrome, it won't work. But you can use Mozilla Firefox or Brave browser. I downloaded Brave browser. No ads. No ads. You can just go right through it. So anybody, if you're using YouTube, because I know a lot of creative content people are still on there. Obviously, you can't just get rid of YouTube. But if you don't want to watch those fucking ads, just download Brave browser. I say that one because I did it. Download that. You won't get the YouTube ads anymore until they patch it. That's what you got to do. So I just wanted to interject and tell everybody that that's the new strat.
That's crazy.
It's the new strat.
I use Brave too.
I'll throw in a little aside. I had to get YouTube Premium because it was making my babies watch 45-minute ads. Okay. 45-minute long advertisements, right? So what, typically, you want to do the dishes, get some laundry done. The baby's in the high chair, right? Watching fucking Coco Melon and being entertained. I'd walk back into the room and it would be playing one of two ads, right? But the ads are 45 minutes long. And it's a podcast
insane,
of two dudes talking to each other, two adult males just having a conversation. I was like, how is this? I was like, no, dude, fuck this.
That's
like,
ridiculous.
Fuck YouTube. I'm going to have to pay for it, right? Because, there's educational content on this platform that I enjoy and I like my kids to watch it. It's like, I don't know. They're fuck them.
Well,
That's
the other
messed
big
up.
perk, too, is if you're on the phone a lot, you can close the screen and rock your Bluetooth and listen to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
that
a
is
big
big.
one. Yeah.
I use it for that purpose.
When you watch when you watch the shit I watch, they give you 20-minute, 30-minute like annuity ads. Like they'll talk about annuities. They'll talk about their new option strategy.
God.
It's 23 minutes about how to make a butterfly spread option. Where it's like, oh yeah, this will always make money. You'll be making 5% forever
bro?
if you stare at
put
your
me to
monitor
sleep.
for 8 hours a day. It'll work.
I know it's like
so
like the
fucking
paid
stupid.
programming. Like when on analog TV, like it passes 2 a.m. and you wake up and you're like watching some scammer on the television.
Yeah,
just
So
like-
you're not awake to hit skip ad and just like, we're just going to play this 45-minute skit for you. Though.
Dude, that's the worst too.
programming.
You know what I always hate about commercials too is I had an ex that she liked having YouTube on when we slept. So just YouTube's on. Usually it was like a League of Legends game or something like that, which was nice. But the ads when they come on, they're fucking loud. Like what they do, they do is they pump the gain on it. Dude, they pump the fucking gain on it like all the way up. So it's not technically that the volume is any louder. It's just they use the gain to just max out what your fucking TV could do on 21 volume.
Yeah.
And it's so bullshit. I'd just wake up.
Right.
I'd wake up to some
Flashing
bullshit.
fucking lights. Got strobe lights.
Wake the fuck up and download this app.
Oh
It's
my
bullshit.
God, dude. Lamborghinis, knowledge.
It's the fucking Ty Lopez, bro.
Yeah,
I swear.
yeah, exactly.
I'm dead, bro.
I need to have my Lamborghini next to this bookshelf. This is very important. Let me
God
talk
damn
to you
it.
for
That's
15
like
minutes.
Right? That's peak cringe ads or rage bait, right? Rage bait.
Yep.
But yeah, before we get too sidetracked, gentlemen, fucking crying, laughing right now. Jesus Christ. I don't even know exactly what we were talking about. I believe we were talking. We were on the
switch.
cannibal switch
Yeah.
plates.
Yes.
Okay.
It kind of leads into how everything all happened with that, I guess.
Yes. So
So
I've
yeah,
got
Go ahead.
It was we pulled up the vile artwork and then that's what started us down this. But anyways, I've still got some of the stuff ready to pop up. So
So basically, I had finished this piece, and again, I looked at it as like a fucking paying homage like to the gods. I was like, fuck yeah, you like my art? Like fuck yeah, I'll make it for the Cannibal Jam Room. And so I spent a long time on that thing, sculpting, painting. I was like, this has got to be like awesome,
It's got to be
And
worthy.
so I sent it out to them. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I sent it out to them, and then Rob had brought it to the jam room. And this is like maybe, I want to say like half a year before their first tour since COVID or whatever. And so they were just starting to jam again, and they all met up, and Rob had brought this package. And so they installed it in the jam room, and then he messaged me saying like, "Oh yeah, they all loved it. Like they thought it was super sick." And then this is the part that like just made me shit my pants. Was when he was like, "Yeah, Paul actually wanted to inquire you about maybe commissioning you to make some stuff for our next tour." And I was just like, "What?" Like
that's
what?
crazy. And now we need to explain why that's crazy though.
Can't type yes fast enough. Like, ugh.
Yeah. We need to
Honestly,
explain why that's crazy.
Yeah. You got this, dude. Explain it.
Because listen, Cannibal Corpse, they have been like the most exclusive band of all time when it comes to art. Anybody who's watched it, all right, Cannibal Corpse, they have a shit ton of documentaries, all right? They've almost documented the making of almost all of their albums, right? They would have like actual DVDs and shit. And I used to watch these documentaries all the time, and it was always Vincent Locke. He has exclusively been the Cannibal artist since they founded. He drew their first album cover, and he drew their most recent. Like, he's done it all. And so when Niko says or posts this picture, which I'm just getting ready to pull up here. So right here, we've got one of the skinned faces on Paul's drum set, right? And I'm not, we're not quite into the stage stuff yet necessarily, but like I've seen Cannibal Corpse live and they've never had any kind of pieces like this on their stage. Even though it's Cannibal Corpse, it's literally usually just them up there with some fucking giant cabinets and that's it.
And a banner.
And a banner, the Cannibal banner. So when I saw this photo right here, I was just like, holy shit. That's Paul One Take Mazurkiewicz, bro.
Yeah,
like, that's
insane.
That's pretty sick.
And that's a test paint, actually. I'll get more into the story of that. But
yeah, no, you can continue. I just want to let it be known how kind of exclusive Cannibal has been when it comes to artwork and artists.
Oh yeah, and just death metal in general, dude. That's the biggest death metal band there ever will be because they pioneered.
They're number one.
Yeah,
they're number one.
Yeah. So basically, where did we leave off? Oh yeah, they wanted to commission and all that stuff. So I hit up Paul because Rob kind of like opened that door to Paul.
Yeah.
And then it was the most bizarre experience, dude, because I'm here like chatting with fucking Rob Barrett on Messenger, right? And he's like, yeah, hit up Paul. And I just like send fucking Paul a message on Instagram or whatever. And they're just like, hey, what's up, man? Like instantly reply. And it was just like, dude, this is so surreal. Like I've seen so many documentaries. They're like, if you're into death metal, like these people are like the celebrities of death metal, essentially.
Literally.
Yeah.
And so basically I was talking to him and he was like, yeah, because, I just made the light switch plate for them. And he's like, yeah, maybe light switch plates. And I kind of explained like, yeah, it's not as modular because you got to have the right style switch. You got to have it depending on if you have one or two. It's not really like open to everybody. And so I had mentioned, I was like, hey, Rob really likes my skin faces. I think it might be really cool if we do like a life-sized like skin face that has like Cannibal Corpse logo on it. Like a fucking realistic skin face that you could just put on a fucking chain and hang it on the wall's wall art. Like a very special commission thing, that no one's really fucking doing, right? And so he's like, yeah, like, let's talk about it. And we actually got on the phone. So I got on the phone with Paul like after that, which was fucking weird, dude. Just like talking. He's just like on the phone, like, hey, what's up? Dude? He's like, hey, man, yeah, pretty good. Like I was like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
So we had discussed the idea, and he was like, yeah, just send me if you could send me like a spreadsheet or some information and pricing and all that, like we can go from there. So I gotta find the document to show it because I'm not good with this shit. And I tried to I was like laying out like, oh, this many is this many times.
Will draw or I will create a sculpture for $200. No,
I took the time to like explain because again, I don't blame people for not knowing what goes into this. I took the time to explain how like just if I do 50, I'm not a Chinese factory. I still have to hand paint each one. It doesn't make it cheaper for me or like less time.
Mass produce.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're all hand painted and unique. And that I was stoked because they were actually excited at the idea of it being like not one is the same. And, a band of their caliber can easily just China out everything, mass produce, whatever. Right. So the fact they were giving me that like platform, they were, down with that was crazy. So basically, I sent him like this whole fucking document, like, oh, this is the material, and this is this. I wanted, because again, I was like, I need to make this deal. I can't not make this deal.
Yeah.
So I sent him all this stuff. He's like, yeah, I got it. And then that cannibal thing you were showing on his kit and all that, those were the same skin faces like that I originally did that you're showing the little horror movie of before. But those are actually once I learned latex, and it's right around the same time as when Tim Gore taught me how to paint latex, and then the cannibal thing happened right after it. So like right as I entered the whole latex making thing, that all just started happening right after that, which was like the perfect alignment. So basically I took one of my skin faces that I already had, and I had painted a stencil of cannibal on the forehead of it, because I wanted to show him like the paint style, the kind of like realism, because it's latex, it'll flop and be flexible like skin. So I was like, I sent him that saying, hey, keep in mind, I'm going to do an original sculpture. It's not going to be this one. And after I sent that, I had the idea of, hey, this is just a pencil, or not pencil, this is just a painted stencil. Imagine it more like it's a branding, like it'll be a physical logo. Carved or a branding. And so I sent him the sample and the sheets, and he sent it to his merch guy. And then it's funny because I'll never forget this moment. I was at work, and then he called me, because I was sitting there patiently like, oh God, I hope he likes it and all this shit. And it's funny because the way his tone was on the phone, he's like, yeah, man, I didn't realize they were so expensive. And it was kind of leading that tone of like a no, But then, because I had put out like, 10 will be this much and this much time, 20 this much, 30 this much. But I capped it at 30 because I was like, that's a lot of work. And so he's like, yeah, it's a lot of money. But I understand, like, it takes a lot of time and it's really cool. So let's just go with the 10. And I was just like, wait, so yes? Like, I was sitting there almost ready to be disappointed, And I was like, wait, yes. He's like, yeah, we'll do the 10. And yeah, we'll have our merch guys send you, the half so you can get started and all that. And I was working at Papa John's at the time. And I walked in, I was like, nothing's going to ruin my fucking day, dude. Yeah. Just try. I was so pumped, man.
That's great. Right. That's awesome.
I quit.
Yeah.
No.
See you later.
Cannibal Corpse now. No, that's sick. I mean, that's really cool of them to kind of like, I'm not saying that they're taking on a risk necessarily, but they are. I mean, because, you're a guy who's, kind of new to the art world, and you're at this point, you probably haven't done a ton of commissions, I know we'd shown the Xeno commission earlier, which is a really elaborate piece, but well,
actually I was doing almost all commissions. So really? we can talk about that going through that, but let's definitely finish the cannibal stuff because definitely have a lot to say with this. I want to stay on track with that.
Absolutely.
So I had made 16. There's 10 for the public, 5 for each band member, and then 1 for myself.
Wow.
And so that's why it showed there's more here. But yeah, those were the ones. Yeah, those are the ones that went out. And I got to say, man, that was probably the most stressful couple weeks ever, because I was having a lot of problems with certain issues with those things that thankfully I had figured out and got it all dialed in. But the pressure was on, dude, because it was like, this is fucking Cannibal Corpse. There's a deadline because I have to get it to them before their tour, right? And I got it to them like a week or two before they left, just barely in fucking time. And I remember I was working, like full time at that time. I would go to work like 10 a.m. to like 7 p.m., like get some takeout because I couldn't even spend time cooking, and I'd come home, go straight in the garage till 3-4 in the morning, and do that for like 2 weeks straight.
Damn.
Because I was just trying to get these things done.
Wow.
And so I guess a good thing to pull up is the behind the scenes video, because you'll see the garage and workshop. It's the sculpture one. You were just at it. Go down a little bit.
Oh, whoops.
Oh. Where's the cannibal stuff? Keep going up. The one with that looks like a raw sculpture. That one. Yeah, so you could play that while I'm talking about it.
Okay, awesome.
Because keep in mind, again, it was an original sculpt, so I had to sculpt it. I had to make like, 3-4 molds of it. So there's the plaster workshop. So I got to mix the plaster, make molds, then cast all that shit in latex, trim it, fucking prime it, paint it, all that shit. So that was and it was 100% worth it. But it's like, there was no going into that without some, like I said,
crazy.
A little bit of stress.
I'm not trying to trash talk it, but it looked like ravioli there for a second.
Oh, yeah,
the
totally,
process.
Yep.
Like raw pasta.
Yep.
It looks like raw pasta, which is interesting.
This stage right here is when, like I was saying, I was going in that garage like fucking every day for hours and hours and hours, and then going to work, with 5 hours of sleep, just trying to muscle that shit out, you know? So basically, yeah, that was like a very, very crucial time for me to like, it's hard to put into words. It's just a feeling to it, man. It was just like the pressure of the whole Cannibal Corpse thing, but stoked on the opportunity, but also like, okay, shit's not working in my favor right now. I need to fucking figure it out fast. And then I figured it out and got it out, and it was just like, oh, right. And then you can pull up that next one, dude. Then when they get them, Rob had earlier mentioned to me, this was the big fucking moment, man, because he had mentioned to me before I even sent him out, like, I'd even be down to put them on the amps. And like Cam said earlier, it was like, dude, in their fucking like 30 years or whatever, they've never had one fucking thing on stage with them that's not just their amps.
Never.
Yeah.
Ever. And then just the fact he mentioned that idea to me, I was like, dude, I'll make you extra ones if you want to just have those on stage and all that. And they use their personal ones for this. That's what's also really cool. Like, that's Rob's. And I think Eric's was the other one. So, and it was a loose idea. It was just an idea when we talked about it. So I didn't want to get too attached to that, just in case it didn't happen, And then the first day of tour happens. I'm all like glued to my phone, like fucking like looking for updates and shit, like merch table, seeing my shit on there. And then I just like see like the little notification, like Rob Barrett sent a photo, Rob Barrett sent a photo. And I'm like, wonder what this is. And then it's those two pictures. And I'm like, no fucking way, dude. They're putting them on the fucking amps, man. So
that's crazy. That's crazy.
I just about shit my pants right there. Like for the fucking, fourth time, So it's like, yeah. And I did some like fucking beef jerky almost looking packaging on there and shit.
Yeah, I know why. Yeah, you did the packaging, which is I think it's
not
nice.
the best.
So wait, so is it a real chain? Because I've never felt one. I've never looked at it like.
So here's the thing, like you have to,
because it'd be like a weapon.
Yeah, well, it's that, and then also it's like you have to balance like, okay, metal chain versus it's pretty good. It's like plastic chain, but it's like metallic color. The cost difference is a big fucking difference, right?
Yeah.
And
okay.
also, I wanted it to be.
It looks real the way you painted it.
Yeah.
It looks real.
But the thing is like, I wanted it to be like light too. I want it to be.
Yeah.
You open it up, you could just put a thumbtack on the wall and hang it. Yeah. It's not going to have so much
my
weight.
My cannibal skinned face is rusty. Shit. Think about that.
Dude, I was looking into actually getting like meat hooks, but they're like either way too big and expensive. And then again, you have to consider your labor on shit like this because you spend a lot of time on stuff. So I'd have to get a meat hook and like grind it down so it's not a weapon or sharp.
Yeah, right.
I had to really like, cover my ass. And their name is on it. That's the biggest pressure is like Cannibal's name is on this shit. So it's got to be good, this is when the first show, this was in Sacramento or whatever. And so I told Rob, like, I want to like meet with you guys and take a band picture if that's cool and meet all you guys. And so Rob Barrett met me outside and brought me to the bus and all that stuff. And I had him sign all the back of the faces and shit. And we just hung out for a minute. And that was a surreal experience.
I bet, dude. Those guys are legendary. I mean, Alex Webster is one of my favorite bassists of all time. Oh, yeah.
Same here, dude.
Obviously, Corpse Grinder is kind of, he's an icon on his own.
Of course.
The video game playing dad who just happens to be in the biggest death metal band of all time. It's pretty cool. Plays World of Warcraft and shit. But Alex Webster, I like that guy. He seems like a knowledgeable guy.
Total nerd, dude.
With music and stuff. He's always I feel like whenever they do like the cannibal documentaries, he's got a lot of like highly intellectual shit to say. You know what I mean? So I've always appreciated that. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool that you got to meet up with those guys and they invited you out and like.
That's what was the trippiest thing is like, you know, you're used to meeting those guys individually and like, you know, after show shit and they're all like spread out.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest shit ever. Like being at this restaurant, telling Rob like, hey, I'm out. Cause I went early in the day, like at 1 p.m. Cause you know, if they're there, there's not anybody around. It's like they can chill and just come out. And I had organized this ahead of time because it was such a special thing that, you know, what we were doing together. And so Rob just came out and like met me and he's like, yeah, you know, we have the guys out, you know, if you want to take a picture and all that. And he brought me over to the bus and then they're just like in that picture, they were just all of them were just hanging out right up front, like just Cannibal Corpse.
That's crazy.
I was like, dude, this is so surreal, man. And then we just line up, take some pictures. And I was just like, this is fucking crazy, man. You know, because it's that caliber of a band where you almost never catch them together like that. Unless
did any of those guys know who Disgorge was?
They didn't make a comment on it, but I'm sure.
Oh my god!
I'm sure a couple of them did. I don't know. I didn't ask.
Alex Webster has to have known who Disgorge was.
I mean, if he's wearing Devourment shirts and shit, like,
yeah,
I'm sure he knows Disgorge, dude.
That's so sick,
you know?
Man.
Yeah. So that was. Yeah, that was the first round of faces, and that was like, again, that was all brand new and like, holy shit. And then I was prepared to just die on that hill and die happy because I'm like, oh my god, I got in with, yeah.
I retire. No,
if you can
not
bottle
with
a moment,
art, but like,
no, I know. I'm just, I'm being extreme, of course.
But it's also being like, you know, trying to be modest about it to where it's like you're not going to expect to keep doing stuff. It was a special thing, right? And I was happy with that. And then it was like, then Paul had hit me up a second time, you know, like after I moved here to Arizona. It's like, hey, man, how do you feel about like doing some more faces? And I was like, oh, shit, like they're coming back for more. Like, fuck yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, and I have to tell the story about how the social media post was a huge deal because I was the only one who had posted about them at the time because it was so close to the tour. And they weren't selling the first 4 or 5 dates. Like, no one was buying them. They had them on stage and all that, but the whole thing is that nobody even knew, really, that they existed unless they, like, kind of glanced at it on the merch table. And so I checked in with them, like, hey, you know, nervously, like, are they selling? Like, is this going to be a failure, you know? And they're like, oh, nothing yet, man. And this is on the 4th date or something. And then on the 5th date, I think that was in Philadelphia, or I can't remember, one of those dates. They had made that post, you know, and that's when I was like, holy shit. And all of them sold out that fucking night in one day.
What?
Damn.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yep.
Dude, that's crazy.
So that created this crazy demand and like almost, what would you call that? Like social, like talk among fans and other people about like trying to get their hands on one. And like, you know, keep in mind, this is the first like 4 or 5 dates, and then they have like 25 more. No, that's not the first. That's the second round.
Oh, that's the second batch. All right, yeah. I'm trying to scroll. They have so
those
many
ones you were
posts.
showing earlier. Yeah, they do have. There it is. Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah. And what they said too. I was like, dude, that's extremely nice of them. You know, like you can tell they wrote that post, not the social media team.
Yeah, it is very nice. They say, some of you may have noticed one of these on stage with us on the current tour. These extremely detailed and handmade skin masks are made by the extremely talented at Niko Kala Art and are available at our merch booth. There are only 10 of these available, and they are a higher priced item.
Exclusivity.
I mean, the post blows up, right? You just made it exclusive.
It's insane. It's insane, dude.
And then, I mean, everybody, you know, the comment section is, you know, kind of crazy. Just lots of hype around it. So,
so
they sell out in one night.
That's awesome.
It made sense too, because a band of their caliber, think about it. Like, if they're not announcing something, no one's. I'm just some fucking small ass fucker as far as reach. So
Yeah.
my friends may know, but like as far as their like million plus, 2 million plus fan base, you know, they're not going to know unless they say something. Even if it's on the stage, they're not saying anything about it. And so that's why I was like, okay, that's gotta be why. There's no fucking way that no one, it's a limited to 10 item of Cannibal. If you're any kind of crazy collector, especially for Cannibal, you'd spend hundreds on that shit.
Yeah.
So basically I was like, that made me feel like fucking like, because I was like, you know, you're doubting yourself. You're fucking not as confident because it's such a huge opportunity. And then, then he's just like, hey, Nico, good news. Like, they all sold out last night. And I was like, what the fuck? And so all these people in these future dates and shit were just like, oh, I'm trying to get one. It's like, no, they sold out in fucking Philadelphia, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Unfair.
And so I had gone to the show wearing, like you saw in that picture, like wearing my personal one around my neck and shit. And
You're gonna get your chain snatched.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know if any of those have resold at all?
I do look at
like eBay. Like, do you check?
I do look at eBay, and I think it's Reverb Nation is another one that they buy and sell. But that's more for a guitar strap I saw recently. I've never seen one on the market yet, but I know those first 10. If someone has one of those and they sell them, like that's the rare shit. Is the first batch, only 10, right? That's gonna be the rarest of the rare ever.
How can you tell? For the people that want to have the authentic one, that's for sure the first one. How can you tell the first from the second?
Every paint job and every batch I do is going to be different. And you'll be able to see that, like that post he pulled up. There's the first ones I did, they're a little more colorful, a little more rotted. And then the second ones I did were a little more fresh. So I got a lot more like rotting colors on there. And then the other ones I wanted to make them pop more. So basically I signed the back of them, and I'll hand number them as well. So there's like 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. These were a batch of 20. So those were out of 20. So those will be out of 20.
Yeah, and they seem a little bit, maybe a little bit lighter, you know?
Yeah, I wanted it to be a little more fresh looking on these, so they pop a little harder.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but then also the way to tell is that, oh, whoops, sorry. I didn't mean to close that down. But the other way you can tell is that Nico probably has, hundreds of pictures of each individual one on his fucking computer.
I have way too many pictures. Way too many pictures, man. Yeah. Actually, you know what's funny is the last batch I did is the most rare because it was the European tour.
You're hearing it here, folks.
Yeah, this is for all you.
It's because the numbers. So it was the European tour, and it was the first time Skin Faces ever hit over there. And it was crazy, dude. It was like, 40 dates or some shit in Europe. And I was in like a crunch at the time or something. They hit me up super last minute. And they're like, yeah, whatever you can swing, even if it's only 10 or 5 or whatever. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll do 5. And then if I can make more in time, I'll do more. So I made fucking 5. And so for all of Europe, basically, there was 5. So that batch right there. And those are my best paint jobs. Those are the ones with the pictures that had the blade outside. Those are definitely my best paint job on those 5. Probably because there was only 5. So I could focus on them a little more. But those are definitely the most rare batch.
It's fun because, as you say, you know, Cannibal Corpse is established and they could easily China out if they wanted to and just mass produce stuff. But I think it's cool to have had your art with them because now at this point in their career, let's be honest, they're not scrounging for money. It's all about quality. And so to have their quality and then them endorse you as quality is just, that's got to feel amazing.
Dude. It does. And then this one, again, as well, for the rare part, this was not posted by Cannibal at all. It was kind of a, like you had to go to the merch booth and ask for it. And he said, so the other thing, too, is Kenny, who is their main merch guy, he lives in the same city as my parents did, Gilbert, Arizona. So he's only a 2-hour drive away. So I started hand delivering my stuff to him. And he's the one who I work with exclusively now on doing this. And we had a talk recently, too, about I told him, hey, I'm going full time. We'll be able to do a lot more stuff and do this. And he's like, yeah, and it's cool. He's like, I want to keep it limited, keep it hand painted because it's super cool. And it's just, he wants to keep it that way. He doesn't want to mass produce. And, it's technically not a merch item in terms of printing or licensing or patents. It's all like unique handmade art. So there's no hands that can get on it. It's all just between, like me, the merch guy, the band. Like it's a very exclusive thing.
That's perfect.
So,
that's honestly as little hands in the cookie jar as possible.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then, I guess we should conclude with for the cannibal stuff. It actually has a lot to do with the guitar straps as well, and the tie-in to that.
So
you could pull that picture of the tour bus one.
Yeah,
I'm holding the face and the 2 skin face straps or whatever.
I just saw it. Hold on a second.
It's close by to those
I got it.
other skin faces. Yeah, there we go. So when I went down, this is when I made the second batch of skin faces for them, the 20. I had just started dabbling with guitar straps, and I made 4 of those guys right there, that same design. I made 4 as an experiment, just to see, I was like, oh, fucking guitar straps. I've wanted to try this for a long time. So I made 4 of those, and to my surprise, those sold out in 5 minutes of listing them.
Wow.
So I put them up and they sold out in 5 minutes. And so I was like, holy shit, man. And so
they call that product market fit in the that's what they call it. So that's when you got a banger, is when something like that happens. They call it product market fit. You made a perfect product for the perfect market, baby. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, can I get a skinned face, mate? Is that how they sold in Europe?
I guess. I don't know, dude. But, so that happened. And then I decided to, really jump the gun. And I was like, dude, I'm going to make fucking 20 of these, right? Yeah. But then I had the crazy idea, because I was going to be making these right around the time when I was going to be, because the show is in Tucson, and so that's about 4 hours away from me up here. And so I was like, and also I was making the magnets, which you have, Cam.
Yes.
And so what I wanted to do was for, them giving me another opportunity to make stuff for them. I'm a very generous person with shit, so I'm like, and I show my thankfulness. I'm like, I'm going to bring them some gifts for fucking doing this shit, for give me the opportunity a second time to make stuff for them. So I was like, okay, Alex, Eric and Rob, I'm going to give them straps. And then for Paul and Corpse Grinder, I'm going to give them one of my new magnets, which you have, right? And so I went down there, and I obviously brought my face and shit and had that signed. And
awesome.
As I was talking to Rob, he was like, oh yeah, I can bring it on the bus. I'll try to have them. And I was like, oh dude, is everybody on there? Cause I actually have, gifts for all you guys. And he's like, what, you got gifts? He's like, oh shit. He's like, well, you want to come on the bus really quick then? I'm like, yes. And so he brings me on. He announces, hey, it's Niko here. He's got some gifts for us. And then, so I, before I even opened my backpack, I was sitting with Rob on the bus, and he's like, yeah, man, those straps you make those were really cool, man. And I was like, oh, well, funny thing, and then I busted him out. I'm like, hey dude, here's a strap and all that stuff. And they're such nice, humble dudes, man. They're very appreciative. And I'll never forget Rob and Eric. Rob was like, yeah, we'll have our guy lace them up, put our strap locks on, we'll wear them on stage tonight. And I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
are you kidding me right now, dude?
That's awesome.
That's wicked.
Unreal, dude. I'm like, wait, isn't that a little scary? Some random strap some guy's giving you, and then your whole tour set up, you're like, yeah, we'll just put it on, no big deal. And I was like, god damn, dude. And so I got to watch the moment where they put those fucking things on. and went out on stage with that, with the faces on the amps. So it was like, okay, not only did I establish the shit on the amps, now I got it like on the guitar players. Like, this is unfucking real, man. And of course, I brought those down there before I officially released those 20 straps, right? Ooh. And so those 20 straps were just waiting waiting to be fucking released. And then they play with them on stage, and people see that shit, right? And that I posted all about it. I'm like, look, the new straps coming out, worn by fucking Cannibal Corpse now. That's awesome. And guess what? It's from the same batch that I made their straps from, because I had made 20 plus 3. Right? 3 for Cannibal, 20 for the public. So they had fucking almost I advertised the shit out of that, because it's just like, that's a fucking huge moment for that. And then, put them up for sale, and I think they sold in like 15 minutes, all 20 of them. So that was crazy. Yeah, and that's when I knew, like, I need to go down this fucking hard right now. I need to, like, there's a fucking thing for this. There's like fucking sea of straps, dude.
Look at all the flash.
Holy shit.
Yeah, dude.
I think
that's the batch of 20 I did.
Yeah, that's the batch. They sold out
so that's
quick.
the Cannibal batch. Skinned. Yeah, wow. So what was I gonna say? So yeah, that was fun. Yeah, there's some footage of them playing that with the face in the background. It's just fucking, I'll never get over that, man. It's so unreal.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I mean, it seems like you've actually, made decent friends with Rob Barrett. I mean,
dude,
he's a super nice guy. I mean, I've met him one time, and he was a stand-up guy, right?
Absolutely,
he's just a normal guy, man.
Yep, and that's why we hit it off so well, because he's a total goofball, and like we were fucking like goofing about shit. He heard me blasting like 80s music in the background while I'm showing him like progress of all the faces, and he's like, dude, that fucking music, are you really listening to that? And I'm like, oh fuck yeah. And he's like, that's awesome. I was listening to Karate Kid, you're the best, all right, like it's like playing in the background. So yeah, he's always joking about that shit. And then so I guess the next 2 major developments are the establishment with Vince Locke and that trade that we did, which was crazy. So I had reached out to Vince Locke, as Cam had previously described. He's like the exclusive Cannibal fucking artist, like from every album cover they've done to t-shirt designs to banners to all sorts of shit. Like, he's their primary artist. And so I had reached out to him and told him, hey dude, I want to give you one of my personal skin faces, like a test paint I did, because you're basically the fucking 6th member of the band. And so I was like, I want to give you something because you're a huge influence on all this, obviously. And then he was like, oh, that's super generous. He's like, instead of just giving it to me, how about a trade? And I was like, ooh, fuck yeah, dude. I was like, and I had put my 2 cents into it. I'm like, can you do it of the same theme of the skin face thing? He's like, yeah. And then he sends me this shit, dude, a fucking original, says like for Niko on it, and it's of like a skin face thing. I was just fucking blown away, dude.
Damn, bro, you get the one of one, baby.
One of one, dude. Woo. Yeah, with a little fucking thank you note.
Not to mention, it is so sick, and it's also, to me, in my personal opinion, it's very classic Cannibal looking.
It is, like the butchered, eaten back to life kind of era.
It's very classic. That, I don't know, there's just something so iconic about this.
Yep.
It's got character, dude.
And I love how it's for the most part unsaturated, but then just that little bit of like blood painted right there.
Perfect, man.
It pops, so it looks so cool.
I actually like it.
Here's the picture.
It's incredible.
I like it because it's funny, because he's literally excited. He's excited to rip his face off, which dude, I actually think is nice. I think it's great.
Yeah,
yes.
He's been an absolute pleasure to talk to.
His cool Cannibal shit back there, like his, like he's got his own like collection of shit he's worked on here in the back too.
Yep.
I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah, and the other thing too, I asked him, I was like, oh, do you think you could take a picture with the skin face and I could post it? And he's like, yeah. And then he fucking goes on his own profile, posts that shit, and then like shouts me out like, hey, thank you to Niko Kala Art for this amazing skin face he made for Cannibal. And like
That's crazy. That's
yeah,
crazy.
the shout out, like from that was insane.
I've got I've got the butchered artwork out in my living room for anybody to see that comes over to my house. My little kids see it all day long, and it's a beautiful piece of art. Yep. There's no way around it. It's a beautiful piece of art. No matter how gory and disgusting some may find it, but it's in my living room for a reason. I need if someone isn't familiar with gory art, that's
right
your
in
best
your face,
example.
baby.
It's right in your face. It's very blunt, but it's also got a lot of character to it for some reason.
Absolutely.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It drew me in when I was young, very young, that these images drew me in. And I'm not some sick, macabre, twisted person. I like horror. Zombies everybody thinks zombies are cool. Come on, bro. So
either you get it or you don't, man. That's really what it comes down to,
And
But the last,
and then
go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the music video, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say that's like the last major fucking development, man. That was fucking crazy.
That was big when Cameron was like, because I'd heard about you. Cameron says, he talks to you and all that. And I was totally in the dark about the faces and all that stuff. And then he was like, yeah, he made these straps and they're literally in the new music video. And I was like, what? Pull up the new music video, and I was like, "That's crazy!" I was blown away by that. And they don't shy away
from showing it either, too. Like,
not at
definitely
all.
Highlighted it. It was fucking nutty, man.
Yeah, it's literally an addition. And
they're skinning someone's face in the fucking video too.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like, to me, that was almost mind blowing. I was like, wow, this is some real shit.
That was unreal to wake up to, man. I literally woke up to because there's the stories that you view the most. It always pops first in your feed. And it was Cannibal, and it was a short little teaser of check out our new video. And I just saw one flash of Eric with the strap, and I was like, no fucking way, dude.
Dude, that's gotta feel so, because now you're enshrined. You know what I mean?
It's encompassed in the history now.
Yeah, it's like, Pink Floyd does Animals, and the tour, it has floating pigs and stuff, and that's really cool. But to have a music video enshrined, it's a good song too. It's solid. It's good.
I love it.
I like the new Cannibal.
Yeah,
I like the new Cannibal a lot.
It's great. It's
that shot right there, dude.
Now it's enshrined, and it's that's got to feel fantastic,
crazy, man. Oh, absolutely, dude. It's insane, And then when
from the garage to the big screen.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
fucking Cinderella story.
Man. This is legitimately directed, bro. This is a solid production.
Fucking crazy.
So, moving on from the Cannibal Corpse stuff, then, working with Cannibal, I'm sure that sparked your interest, obviously, into pursuing more of the full time. Going full time, setting your sights on some bigger projects, dude. One thing I want to know is, do you ever plan on making stuff for screen?
Oh man. I mean, it would be cool. I don't want to.
You would have to start your own production company, essentially.
See, that's one of the things I'm thankful for getting tight with Tim Gore, because that dude's a 40+ year special effects veteran.
Yeah, he is.
That guy he was sculpting this, in Jurassic Park 2, the fucking dinosaurs and shit. You know what I mean? He's been doing shit forever. And what he particularly told me too was if you get in that industry, you're going to end up having to do jobs you're not going to like, because that's what you're tailored
a
in.
Fucking Barbie movie or some shit.
Yeah. And I'll never forget him telling me, he's like, yeah, what you're doing, and going it's not a hobby, but going the hobbyist route where you're creating your own niche and you get a following and all that. He's like,
true.
He's like, go down that route, because he's like, if you invest your whole art career into doing film stuff, Like you're gonna end up taking some jobs that you don't really want to do.
Wow.
You know, you're gonna end up doing some of that. Like he's not gonna, and he said too, he's like, I'm not diminishing it. He's like, I've had some extremely amazing opportunities on what I've worked on. He's like, but if you're building something up, he's like, talking to me at my age, he's like my dad's age almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Telling me like basically, it's cool, but if you're getting into it to primarily do that, you may want to go your hobbyist route, because he knows I'm like a control freak about what I do. Like I like having control over my design and what I do. And as you know, there's so many people who sculpt and do all this crazy shit only for some other asshole director or higher up in the company to be like, nope, scrap it.
Yeah.
You should talk a little bit about the making of Alien then. If you could just just talk briefly, because I'm sure it involves your favorite, your all-time favorite, and probably the person you draw the most inspiration from.
And that's of an era, I think, of movie making where it was tailored much more towards the risk and the art than it is the turnaround. And yeah, Alien, Giger had his hands on the whole fucking thing with the design, with the sets. He's out there moving like tubing on these giant fucking sets. He's showing, there's videos of this, of the behind the scenes of him showing like how to mold the fucking alien eggs, and all the like special effects guys are just watching him, and he's the one like sculpting and designing the alien and all that. Whereas a lot of movies, the designer and the sculptor will do their work, and then it's up to the rest of the, the plaster team, the casting team, the set design to do all the other work. But he was like hands-on every aspect of it. And that's why it's such an artistic movie, because H.R. Giger just had his hands on it more than any of the other movies, especially. That was a very, very hands-on movie for him, Yeah,
absolutely. You would probably say this is probably your biggest inspiration,
the big
right?
chap, man. Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah.
He's incredible. He's also like, okay, so he's, for people who don't know, even though his artwork is, it's very, I don't want to say dark, because I don't think it's dark actually, but it's very obscure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's kind of on his own. He's got his own original vision and everything, but he is.
It's like realism and surrealism, like kind of mixed in with each other.
I would say, it's weird. I would say it has a brutal elegance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's
the color palette is what does that too.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. His, basic, what I wanted to say though about his personality is he's a very strange guy. Like he is opposite of what his art looks like.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Have you heard him talk about like what some of his paintings are from? So he'll have like insane nightmares, and his way to cope with it would it be paint from one side of the giant canvas to the next, and he just like is basically almost channeling it. Like he didn't sketch anything, he just almost sketched lightly with his airbrush. And he was saying how some of that was like shit that haunted him, and he would paint it, and visions that he would have and dreams that he would have. And I was like, wow, because I've seen like almost every documentary that has to do with Giger, and it's very revealing in a lot of them. And I've watched the first one, the Necronomicon, and the Making of Alien one, like fucking hundreds of times, dude, and he explains a lot about like, I choose a very pale, almost rotten kind of color scheme because that's what like matches his work, and the images he's trying to portray and stuff. So, but yeah, the first Alien, man, that one is just, it's gonna live on forever.
Movie. It holds up so well today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of the scariest movies ever made. If you want to get technical, it really is. It holds up, and there's just something about bringing something to life, looking so real in a movie, and so like nobody's ever seen anything like that in a movie before.
Absolutely.
But not only does it stand the test of time, but it's kind of like a lost medium. You know what I mean? Like I wish they still did shit like this in movies.
You're talking
Like,
about
really,
like the sculpture kind of like that kind of medium thing, you mean?
Yeah, it's just crazy how I've seen the Alien documentaries as well. I've seen a shit ton of them, and the way that movie was put together is really, it's all over the place. This was not a simple movie. You got a production studio that's going, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, we did not paying you to make this shit. Like, it's such a back and forth, but like the end product, it speaks for. Like I said earlier, like DIY, it speaks for taking huge fucking risks.
Huge risks.
But
like they were saying too, with the whole, like, they were looking for, they don't want just the man in the suit look, especially that era, right? Like with the big bug eyes, the alien shit. And so if you look at the original airbrush sketch for Alien, it actually did have eyes. And what Giger said in the documentary was they decided that a creature with no eyes based on instinct alone was a lot scarier and obviously a lot different than any other movie had. And that's where that clear dome skull came in, because there was no real visible eyes on it. So that's what made it so terrifying, because it was almost insect-like in a way that, like, you couldn't tell when that thing, if it's just smells you, if it's like some other sense. So I thought that was a really cool explanation from him. Now they changed that design aspect before they started sculpting it.
Wow.
Or he started sculpting it.
I'm trying to pull some of these early sketches up.
So that's the one when they decided on no eyes, and then there's another one. I think that's it right there. Yeah, that's it. One. So that's with the eye design.
Yeah. Wow, and that's 78, yeah.
Yep.
And then he was,
Dude, he drew the fucking sets, too. Like, there's the airbrush of the sets, there's the airbrush of the fucking, the pilot seat, you know, the space jockey.
Yeah.
That's a fucking painting. And then he fucking sculpted that fucking thing by hand. The full-scale thing. He's up on the fucking rafters, like, sculpting this giant fucking space jockey for that scene. They had to use a crane to fucking lift it onto the set.
No, that's wild. It's I don't know. What is the controversy? I can't necessarily remember the controversy about what happened on the set of that movie, where they basically I mean, I don't think that he was like credited enough, you know, for like what he did. Like, what's the controversy there?
I think I'm not familiar with too much on the first movie, but I know around, I think, Alien 3 or something, they started to he had all these designs he wanted to show them that they wanted to use in the movie, and they flew out to Zurich or whatever to go see them. And then because the deadlines were so tight on the movie and they owned all the rights to that shit, they basically had to tell Giger, like, yeah, we're not using your designs, we're using these other ones that the studio made. And so ever since then, Giger was like, go fuck yourself. And they've had all those like legal things with Fox and making sure that, you know, there's just a whole bunch of shit after that happened. So basically, he was excited and wanted to show them his new designs. They decided, because of the time crunch, they're going to go with their designs. And so they basically said, fuck you to the original creator of the Alien. And so he's like, yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, and Alien 3, by the way, it's a terrible movie.
That's where it all goes downhill. It's Alien and Aliens for me. Big time. Those two, man.
Yeah, dude.
Masterpieces.
Fucking, when James Cameron got a hold of Aliens, bro, it's like the mashup of my two favorite things ever.
Yep.
Because they really pumped that fucking thing full of action. That movie is so sick.
Yeah. Love
Even
that
today,
movie.
That's one of the best.
Got the fucking Queen
sci-fi.
right here by Zig, dude. Like,
I know,
love
that's
that
crazy.
Shit.
It's one of the best fucking. It's the best sci-fi movie, bro.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The Thing is like probably my favorite, but that's more horror. Fucking Aliens is some like fucking straight up. It's
the thing
like
is
a
the same
fucking
caliber,
war
though,
movie,
dude. That's
bro.
a
It's
10
so
out of
sick.
10 for me, dude. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Absolutely.
Anybody who's interested in special effects or anything like that, they've seen it. They know. And that movie was also just painstaking to get it right. You know, like you said, they had to bring in so much help and some very abstract ideas in there. Definitely never before seen on film.
Oh,
So,
yeah. The
but
Queen
here's
was a
the
huge fucking task, man.
thing
That's
is, like,
crazy.
nowadays I just feel like that is missing so much from any movie, television show. Nobody is taking crazy risks, and I hate it. And if you're
because it's
taking a risk with a fucking
compartmentalizing.
CGI monster, I hate that. Because here's an example. They made the fucking Sonic movie, right? They made Sonic the Hedgehog, and when the trailer
yeah,
dropped,
God.
everybody was just like, what the fuck? Fuck no, we're not watching this bullshit. Sonic looks retarded.
Yeah,
And then
it's like a cracked out Sonic.
the studio literally replaced the entire movie. They said, all right, we'll push the release date back a year. We're going to fix it, guys. And then they, you know, just with CGI magic, obviously, because he's a digital, you know, character. They just redesigned the whole fucking movie, which is actually crazy. But I still think that, like, it's a little unacceptable. It's a little unacceptable that your screen test was the entire world.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. It's I don't know. I don't see the risk. I don't see the risk, you know?
Yeah.
And like horror movies today, there's really only a few I can think of in the past 10 years that have really gone outside the box and done something original. I would say, like,
Well, it's all dusting off the chefs, dude. It's all dusting off the shelves right now. That's what's so stupid.
See, here's the thing. If you think about it from, like, Fox's perspective, right, 20th century, they owned the rights to Predator, right? And so what do they want to do? Oh, let's make a Predator universe. We're just going to fucking make a shit ton of sequels that have nothing to do with anything. So, like, Predator 1 and 2 are sick movies, dude. They're, like... They are top tier.
Absolutely.
And then in the 2000s, they started going, all right, Alien versus Predator, and it's a total Canadian production with no faces in it. It's a low budget movie, if you will. It's a straight to DVD movie. It's meant to sell DVDs, not theaters.
Right.
And it was a PG-13, bro. They released a fucking PG-13 Alien versus Predator movie, and while I do enjoy it, it's a guilty pleasure. I
like the art in it, you know. But that's about it.
The art direction is great. You know, the suits are sick. The fight scenes are entertaining. But at the same time, it's just a money making method, right?
Yeah.
They want to basically they're taking their investment that they invested in when they fucking got the original Predator. They're just gonna milk it.
They're harvesting dividends
every 5 years. Oh, and now Hulu wants to make a fucking Predator movie, which was dog shit. I will never recommend or watch that ever
I didn't
again.
even watch it.
Don't. It'll spoil a lot of shit for you. The amount of CGI in that, the amount of, let's be real, false history in that is like, at least before the movie starts, go, this is entirely fiction. Like, it has to be ridiculous. Even the first movie where an alien lands in the jungle and fucking kills Green Berets is more believable than
seriously.
the last fucking Predator movie I just watched. It was so fucking bad. But moving on from that, that's just me ranting about movies.
Yeah.
Man.
I know we
love
mentioned
shit.
movies, and I know it's gonna go a long way with you guys.
No, I love movies, but
Of
I'm
course,
just,
dude.
you know, I haven't seen any horror movies, you know, in the last 10 years that have really gone outside of the box.
And then speaking of, you think about what happened in the 2011, I think The Thing, right, was an absolute tragedy, bro. You know about that, right?
What's the
don't.
tragedy? Because I've seen the prequel. I've seen The Thing. It's a prequel to the...
I insulate myself because I can't be baited. I can't be baited into watching any of these. When they make a remake, I go, I won't watch it, and then I don't.
It's not a remake.
I don't watch
not a
any
remake.
remakes. I don't watch any remakes. I don't watch anything that they dusted off the shelves. None of it. The all-female Ghostbusters, didn't watch it. I don't watch anything. I don't watch anything. What I'll do is I'll go, I could watch a new movie that they dusted off the shelves, or I could just go watch The Thing again. The one that I love. And that's good enough for me. I don't know if that makes me an old man. I don't know if that makes me stuck in my ways. But it doesn't break it for me. I'm happy. I'm literally happy. So that's me insulating myself.
When they announced the Thing prequel that came in 2011, I had to go see it. I had to. But were you going to bring up the fact that they knocked it to a PG-13? Because I'm pretty sure.
That they replaced everything with CGI when they were going to do all practical. And it's Studio ADI, who was working on it at the time, actually decided to post some of the stuff that could have been that they were sculpting, and they were going to do practical, and it would have been off the charts. That Casey Love guy that I was telling you about and showing you, he was one of the sculptors for it. He was one of the sculptors for that movie. Wow. And they fucking threw it all away and replaced all of it with CGI. And it was the biggest slap in the face, because even he is like, that would have been a fucking incredible visual movie if we had been able to do our effects. But then last minute, they just fucking wanted to, I forget what the deal was, but they basically just like, nope, and then canceled all that and then did everything CGI.
It's because people who work in the studios, they're producers and whatnot, they think that the films will have longevity if they use CGI. That fans in 20 years from now will still be able to enjoy the movie because practical effects are outdated and all this shit. No, I swear that's what it is.
I fucking hate when I see, if you take The Thing, for example, people will watch it and be like, that looks fake. It's not what it's about. The whole movie is fake, you dumbass. Like, the entire thing is fake. It's fake. It's on your fucking screen. Every character that has a line, all these people. Ryan Gosling's a real person, okay? He's not Barbie or he's not Ken, okay? Like, the whole thing is make-believe. What special effects are is they're fucking cool. They're moving works of art, and they're something that actors can move with, they can interact with. If you even watch The Thing, when he's doing the surgery on the guy, he can, like, oh my god, open it. It brings the actors more to life, because I don't know, if you watch fucking Star Wars Phantom Menace, they're literally like, the director's telling me that I should be jumping because there's an explosion behind me. So I'm going to imagine that there's an explosion, but there's not going to be a single bead of sweat that comes off my brow because there ain't nothing there. It's a nice air-conditioned room, and I don't know what's going on, but I'll do my best. I'm an actor. But when you give somebody something to work with, they're like, like, oh, this is fucking
immersion,
gross,
man. It's the immersion into that.
I've watched recently the behind the scenes footage of Phantom Menace, and Ewan McGregor is literally like, it is very hard to make this movie. We're interacting with nothing. That's literally what he's talking about.
What's crazy
is
just
like
what's crazy is when they can't even line up, like when you see them look through the green screen, like they have a character CGI model, and they're like, I don't know where his head is. And even though they'll try and make visual cues for him, it still doesn't work because the art might not be right, or the shot might not be right. So they make it a little different, and then they go, nobody will notice. I fucking notice, dude. Everything that you put on a screen,
honestly,
if you package up a movie, every single frame, every single edit, every single line, it's all carefully curated. Yeah. So to think that I'm not going to notice is a little ridiculous, considering all of the other things, all of the other decisions that you've made are with the assumption that I will notice. So for some reason with art, you just assume that I won't notice, but everything else you go, oh, well, we need to introduce this character this certain way, and his first line needs to be this so that we establish something, because that's what people will notice. But all of a sudden art is just like, they won't notice. It's really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really cool. Did you see the lasers? The lasers are going to be great. And then, the screen's going to flash and everyone's going to be happy, and they're just going to dig into their popcorn. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and the film is just shaking the whole fucking time. I swear, bro. It's like, can we get one still image? Like, okay, so for instance, Zane, just to play off what you were saying, dude, I watched Final Destination the other day, and there's a scene where they blow up a real full-size house, and the looks on people's faces, they're like, they've obviously never seen a house blow up in real life before.
Yeah, dude.
They just saw it, and it's fucking crazy. And it's like, I would say, I mean, the sequel to Final Destination is pretty good, but like since then they've made a few that, I mean, literally it's B movie after B movie, CGI, like the worst special effects ever. And it really takes away all of the magic that is of the first, movie or whatever. But yeah, blowing up houses. I miss matte paintings in films when they would have a backdrop that is literally a matte painting, or after the fact they key it out and insert a matte painting. I mean, people would literally paint like these amazing fantasy fucking backgrounds and shit in movies that it's like mind blowing. Like if you've ever seen I think Steven Spielberg's Hook, right, with Robin Williams. Look at the matte paintings in this movie. It'll take you to another fucking world, and it's all like before CGI. It's got so much.
It's like the miniature
soul.
stuff, dude. It's like the miniature stuff being
I love
making
miniatures.
that
They're
look
cool.
so real.
Miniatures are so cool.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it should actually be illegal what George Lucas did in the Star Wars series. Because since those original movies have come out from the 70s and 80s, all of the DVD releases have CGI splattered all over that old shit. So every time you see a ship fly in, it's been digitally replaced. They have basically crossed out all of the miniature work, all of the special effects, even the lightsabers have been re-CGI'd, right?
Oh my God.
Then they've even like the scene where a Force ghost of Anakin Skywalker in the old movie, they just put Hayden Christensen into the DVD copy, even though he wasn't even alive when the movie was made.
Wow.
Yeah, he's not even alive when the movie was made, and they're just like taking so many liberties. It's like, George Lucas, I hate the fact that you sold it to Disney, but at the same time, I mean, it was sinking anyways.
The South Park is so accurate on it. It's like, we're just like, oh, the new re-release where all the Ewoks now have walkie-talkies.
Dude,
that's too good.
I gotta be honest, The Hobbit broke it for me. I was such a Lord of the Rings fan. Dude. Really got into like the production of that, and I know that like they were bitching like, hey, you get 200 horses out in the middle of, like when they're running across the plains in the first one, the Fellowship, and then they run up against Aylmer for the first time. They like get surrounded by Aylmer and that like group of horses. All of that is real. All of that. Yeah. Every horse in that is real. And they get all these horses to like wrap around them, and then like they shoot the shot and they shoot the scene. And they were talking about like, dude, to have all these horses, you got to get them in the middle of nowhere. You got to feed them. They're shitting. Like, dude. I get that it's a total pain in the ass. And he said it was like one of the biggest headaches that he's ever had is dealing with all those horses. But dude, it's so fucking worth it, man. It was so worth it. Like, it was so good.
They had to dress up women as men too, because they didn't have enough males to ride horses.
Wow,
remember that?
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, all of that is just, to me, it's so worth it. We're making a moving work of art. It's a moving picture, just like Rush, baby.
Yes.
That will last through time.
It's beautiful. But like those hobbits, literally, dude, throw them away. Throw them away. I pretend they don't even happen. When I tell people I'm a Lord of the Rings fan and I love the movies, they go, they start talking about Hobbit, and I'm like, hey, I get that I just sold you that I was a fan, but now I have to tell you I'm not, because I didn't watch any.
What about
of
the new Netflix series?
Didn't even watch it. I didn't even attempt. It's so sad. It's so sad. They've got me against the wall, dude. I'm pinned against the wall. Yep. It's terrible.
You gotta hold the line.
That's a shame. That's a shame. But at least you have 3. So, and you got the director's cut editions. Oh my God, bro. They're literally 5-hour movies each.
But I will even say, like, I don't hate CGI all the time, because on the director's cut of the third one, dude, the mouth of Sauron, That's a cool character, bro. No matter,
It's got to be done right. There's there's a certain threshold to it.
Yeah, like the
And
mouth of
another point I was
Sauron.
gonna make was with practical effects. I think the best explanation I heard was like that. No matter what, obeys the laws of physics, reflection, everything,
gravity and
you
shit.
don't, and you don't have to like add. Like highlights and all this in areas it might not necessarily actually be in real life. And frame rate is a big deal because if you have these super smooth looking fucking effects and you're trying to make it look like a human or something else, how we perceive things to be real is actually a lot less of a frame rate to your brain than what we're actually seeing on screen. So if you're doing CGI where it's like going 60 to 80 frames per second, well, when they do the practical effects, it's to like the same, kind of like how you would see it, right? Versus how it's being made super smoothed over. That's not how your eyes would see something like that. So when CGI is done right, they knock down the frame rate so your eyes perceive it to be more real than this super smooth fucking Star Wars shit. And then that's when it's used right. And where there's a seamless blend between CGI and practical where you're immersed in the experience. You're not like, oh, that's fucking fake,
Yeah.
That's me watching every fucking movie. I'm such a dick.
Yeah.
I'm such a dick. People don't want to watch shit with me.
Like, Zane and I watched this movie, The Whale, and they really put Brendan Fraser in this fucking ultra fat suit. And even though it looked, you could tell that wasn't his natural like body shape or size or whatever, it was still a lot more realistic than if they put him in fucking CGI. It would have been a shit. It would have been laughable. You'd be laughing at the whole movie. You know what I'm saying? And instead, I'm at the end like tearing up like, oh shit. But like, here's an example of where CGI works is like in the movie Interstellar, where they generated a black hole or like a singularity. Like they were like, theoretically this is based on science and this is how it would be simulated. And they use like supercomputers to fucking generate this thing. And it's like, I guess the file size, I'd have to look it up, but it's like some astronomical number, the file size to generate this thing. That's a fucking instance where, okay, CGI is great for this, but like we don't need CGI babies, bro, in fucking Twilight or whatever. Like that is crazy. You couldn't get a day baby on set. You couldn't get a doll on set, a realistic doll. Like that's crazy to me.
Absolutely.
I find actually that extremely light things like the Eye of Sauron, those things do well in CGI. Like if you want something extremely bright, I think that CGI is actually best for that type of thing. But any prop, I think that almost any costume for the most part, I mean, maybe a little bit of CGI on it, or if you wanted to have, let's say, something like rotating continually around a character, like if they had like something spinning around them, add that on. That's fine and stuff like that. But like to have entire characters that are all CGI, it's a travesty. It's sad.
I hate it. Niko, I have some more questions though regarding one thing. While we're kind of close to this topic, I want to know what you really think about AI generated art or shit like NFTs, right? That people try to make lots of money off of.
And I'll be the foil. I'll be the devil's advocate here. I'll be the devil's advocate just because I'm the only one that's prepared to do so. So go ahead.
So as far as NFTs go, I really don't have much to say on it because ever since that came out, whatever that came to be, it's kind of like I never really paid any mind to it because I thought it was just going to be because it has to do with all the cryptocurrency stuff and value of like digital assets and stuff like that, right? So yeah, I mean that could go anywhere, right? So I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. But with the whole AI art thing, like my opinion with that is the biggest opinion I have is if you're gonna basically claim that you're an artist by typing in 30 words, that's stolen valor to me because we work so fucking hard on what we do and the amount of skill and hardship you have to overcome and grow and learn to use your hands. And even digitally with digital pens, that's all still the same because it's coming from you. You're creating it, and as far as using it as a tool for design or to like come up with some ideas, like I don't see anything wrong with that particularly, but like the whole claiming shit as your own and as an artist and, that kind of thing just does not seem right to me. And I've even seen people in the metal community compare it as to like, oh, if you're mad about AI art, just wait till you hear about programmed drums and stuff like that. I'm like, that's still not the same because someone has to sit down and program those drums and create that pattern. Whereas it'd be the same if they sat down and they typed in blast beat, double bass, and then they hit generate. Then you could compare that, but it's different because there's still a human artistic element. Even though it's programmed.
There's like this instant gratification thing with AI
Exactly.
that I think is disgusting. It's like fast food. You know what I mean? It's like the easy. It's like the microwave burrito of art, right? It just
it's not
ready.
coming
Boom.
from you though. That's the whole thing.
And it's not coming
human.
from you at all. Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting because what you can kind of tell is that intrinsically, somewhere deep within people, there's something that isn't right with it. There's something that you just end up believing. There isn't really anything that you can't win. You can't totally win a thought experiment with it, right? You could say, oh, well, I did this. I had this input. Instead of creating, I'm an editor. It's still my opinion. It's still this. It's still that. But look at how good it looks. Look at how interesting it is. But at the same time, if you just talk to the average person, there's just a hesitation that exists within them about it, especially when they figure it out. Because you hear about these people that, hey, I put this in an art contest and I won. But once they know, there's a hesitation to celebrate it. Mm-hmm. And I think that is just natural. And I think it tells a lot. And I can't exactly put my finger on what it is. I guess it must be the authenticity or the sweat equity like you were talking about. Mm-hmm. But there's something that is hesitant about it. It feels cheap. Anything that comes cheap is cheap. You know what I mean?
Well,
At least how we perceive it.
Yeah, and another aspect of it too is like, I think some people that aren't as familiar with it think that it's like some super brain that's creating these images. It's taking existing images and it's blending. It's not actually thinking up anything and designing it. That's the thing, It's
looking at a Picasso.
Yeah.
And going, here's something like taking literally like iterations of that and combining it to like make a different face or whatever. It is literally stolen, to be honest. Same goes for like the essays that it writes and the fucking jokes that it steals from real comedians. It's all stolen. It's crazy. And there's a scientist, Zane. I don't know if you caught that episode on Joe Rogan with Michio Kaku, the physicist. He explained, like, he really broke it down why AI is like dog shit. He was like, it's not actually AI.
Exactly.
It's just stealing everything.
Yeah.
And people were so mad about that. They're like, bullshit, it's machine learning, it's learning how to get better. And it's like, no, dude, like he said
better at blending.
because a lot of people put their bag on it already. A lot of people.
Yeah, exactly.
You start arguing about people's money and it becomes real. That's why that NFT people get so butthurt. A lot of money. You're talking about my bag here, brother. I fucking got fooled for 20 grand, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's the artists that like aren't concerned about money that are going to give their honest opinion about it because they're not the ones that have, money tied into that or care about that because they're focused on what they're creating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nico, we're getting a little deep here. We're getting a little late into the episode, okay? And I don't think that we're probably going to have time to talk Iniquitous tonight. But that's okay.
Oh, because, that could be a second follow-up.
Yeah, it could always be a second episode where we, dive into Iniquitous, dive a little bit deeper into brutal death metal. All right, for people who don't know, or just life on the road touring, because you definitely have your experience there, and that's, you know, a cool thing I'd like to dive into. But since we're still on art, I do want to end with a couple of deeper questions pertaining to art. So the other night I kind of brought up to you how when I think of sculptors, and this is kind of how I've always seen it, I always imagine them like authors of stories, like writers, novelists. I always saw a huge similarity there in where a lot of times authors, they're kind of addicted to loneliness. Do you feel like you are addicted to loneliness? And how does this type of work affect like your social life?
So one thing I will say is, you know, when I did music before this, it's like this, it's a big escape from life in general when you're able to focus so hard on something that you forget about love, food, feelings at all. You're just, it's like a whole nother world feeling, you know, when you're in the whole in the zone thing, right? And so to be truly in the zone, you can't have people talking in your ears, being in a room full of people. You have to be isolated, you know, when you're really in the zone. And you know that fucking musically, obviously, you know. And so when it came to when I started doing art, it was a whole different feeling of that kind of euphoric shit. So that whole like loneliness thing is very essential to being able to just like I said, when I was doing the cannibal stuff, right, I was working, but then I came home and just went in that garage like every night for weeks by myself, headphones on, just doing nothing but focusing on that. It became a new form of therapy almost for me mentally than music could offer, because it's like, you know, when you're playing guitar and shit, you can kind of zone out and like just play like that. When you're like painting shit and you got to like be very accurate, you're like extra fucking focused. I think even more so than I was able to do musically, because it's so fucking like hands on. You know what I mean? Like you pull your guitar out, you got the fretboard, you know, you got your basic like riding a bicycle techniques and stuff like that. It's like an artwork. I feel like I'm diving into a new world every day and learning shit. Yeah. And as far as my social life goes, I've always been kind of, I'm kind of like a hybrid. I'm an introvert, extrovert kind of, you know, I enjoy both of it. But when it comes to everyday living, I definitely am like a caveman. You know, like I have my quarters as friends, you know, not pennies, like the very, very close ones to me. I allow time to hang out with, and I think it's important to have that, especially for me. I need that, but I'm totally okay locking away for a fucking month just working on stuff too.
Wow. I mean, some people don't have that mental fortitude, to be honest. No. You know, and that's why it can be kind of dangerous, right? Locking, like being lonesome, being alone, not having like that again, like you said, like when you go into that mode where it's like, I'm not hungry, I'm not getting up to, I'm not taking enough breaks, I'm just running myself dead, I'm not getting enough sleep, I'm so into this. Like I'll come out of periods at times like that, right? Let's say I sat down and I played guitar for 5 hours straight, and I was like, I'm the most warmed up I can be. I just recorded something that to me is like the best thing I've ever done. And then all of a sudden I stand up from my desk and now it's back to reality. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's realities, and you have like this very heightened sense in your brain. Like I just fucking accomplished the impossible, like to yourself, but it's hard to relay or express that to somebody else, because a lot of the times that feeling is just going to stay with you. It's not really going to make its way out. Like, you know, let's say I'm fucking playing guitar, and then, you know, my wife walks into the room and I'm like, listen, like I just made the craziest fucking shit ever. Like, I mean, she's just gonna be like, whoa, yeah, cool, great. What do you want for dinner? Like, it's just like, it's just like, oh shit. Like I was just in my world. You know what I mean? Like my world, it's so unique to me, and it's hard for other people to relate. That's why I just think it's funny, because I've noticed this, Niko, and with Zane too. I feel like anytime any one of us kind of guys are onto a project, and let's just say we just did a big bulk of work. Zane was playing his fucking keys for 3 hours straight. Niko was fucking sculpting for 3 hours straight. It seems like the people you reach out to first and foremost are other artists instantly.
Oh, yeah.
We reach out to each other instantly. I will send Zane, dude, check out this track right now. Check it out. It's like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning.
Hey, I sent you a bunch of
Like,
tracks. Don't listen to them now. Wait till we're on after the pod, and then we'll just go through them.
Exactly. That's kind of what we do a lot of the times, and I found you and I doing that a lot too, Niko. Where it's like you hit me up, and then I go, "Oh, he must have just done some work," you know. And so usually when I open up my phone, I've got like some pictures and some cool like
check out this test
stuff,
paint,
and I'm just
dude.
like wow, and it's good, like when you're an artist, you kind of want to bounce ideas or show somebody what that feeling is.
Well, remember what I was saying when I
like.
first started, how like those 2 friends that I had were my first ever friends that were very artistic, and they were the ones that I'd be showing my progress to, and they would be hyping me up, they'd be amping me up, giving constructive criticism and all that shit. And I think, like you said, that's very important and essential really to have that, especially when you're getting out of that zone where it's like, I just spent 5 hours on this fucking paint job, dude. Like, what do you think? You know what I mean? Versus someone who's just like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, anyways, you want to, go bowling? It's like,
yeah, exactly. We're on different wavelengths right now.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh, and the worst too. See, like for you, it's less of a performance art, right? With the art, because it's like you start a piece, you make the piece, you finish the piece. It's there. It's to look at and to hold. But like for like music or whatever, it's a kind of a performative,
well, your
like
recorded music is your fucking resin.
Yeah, that's
sculpture,
your piece. That's your piece.
Yeah.
But a lot of people fake their recordings, and
yeah.
I find it is what it is, bro. I get it. You wanted the perfect take, but I like we'll talk music another time.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'll use this example. I spent 2 hours making this card trick, right? And I had it down. I had the slight down so good. And I was even fooling myself with it a little bit. I was like, all right, 2 hours down. I've been practicing this thing all day. I'm going to test it on the wife. I walk up to her, pick a card. And then I fucked the trick up instantly. Forget everything. And it's just like, and she's just like, wait, that's not my card. Like, that.
All right, now give me the card back.
Yeah.
Give it back.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it's like,
that's the overthinking block and the perfectionist
Dude,
shit I think we can
know.
relate on.
But yeah, I think we can relate as artists when it comes to that stuff. Like,
Absolutely, man.
obviously, you've talked about, with me personally, like, all the failure that you go through.
Yeah.
And that you got to be prepared for those lows.
Yep.
It happens. And, just like an author, how many times they throw away the first draft? How many times they literally just write a fucking entire book and go, fuck it. That's what Stephen King did. He threw Carrie away in the trash, and his wife picked it out of the trash and read it and said, what are you doing? This is great. That's literally, he was a fucking school teacher. And, and now he's, made this legendary career as a novelist. But it's I don't know, it's just weird. I always just kind of thought of like guys who did shit like that as authors. I mean, because when you're creating your sculptures and your pieces, I mean, you're literally creating a story kind of, that's why, as a visual medium, it's one of the best. I mean, it's one step above drawing and painting, because like drawing and painting, it's 2D, baby. It's 2D we're working with. And a lot of people can kind of doodle or draw or do something, but then to actually have the balls to and take the time to create something that can sit in the light, can be, inspected from all angles. And it's
not even that.
It's something I highly appreciate.
Just held. It's real.
Just
it's something.
It's literally real.
It's something. It's like it goes back to having an album. I mean, that's the thing about music is like you can't hold it. You can't hold it.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that kind of sucks. It doesn't show up. You can't look at it. You can only hear it. But that's why people are still so attracted to vinyl is because you can hold it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Niko, I'm on your Etsy shop. Why don't we just run through real quick to close this thing out? I want you to plug all of your shit. You got, here we go. I've got one of these. I got one of the coffee mugs. Super sick. I know it's printed. It's like a photograph of the Xenomorph, which is, one of my favorite things to drink out of. That's my favorite coffee cup. You got the mouse pads. You've got some stickers, magnets. You've got a couple. So this wall pieces, is that actually still for sale?
Yeah, that's the last one, that like kind of green alien blood one. Wow. I did those a while ago.
Yeah, I know they're kind of they're older pieces. I'm surprised you still have just one. Did you officially sell out of the magnets, the like these ones?
Oh yeah.
You officially got rid of those? Nice.
Well, and that's the thing that I guess I should have mentioned more with the cannibal stuff, is every time they made like that post or whatever about me, they just bring hundreds of new followers my way, and a lot of them become customers, you know, which
is honestly priceless. I mean, that's priceless right now. I think we talked about that a little bit, where it was like, if you can get a fucking like a free ad like that with that kind of reach, I mean, people literally pay thousands
to get
thousands of dollars,
and get denied by somebody that doesn't need thousands of dollars. I don't need thousands of dollars. Get your shit out of here.
Yeah, like the recent one they did for my new pieces for Cannibal, like that posted insanely good, like very much big caliber with all the other posts they made in terms of likes and shit. And I was just like, God damn, dude. You know?
Wow. And so you, how many of these guitar straps do you have left?
Just two. So the first,
two. Wow.
The 8 of them sold in the first night, and then there's 2 more lingering right now.
These ones are so sick, dude.
Thanks, man.
They look a little bit different, than the last.
That was last couple batches. Of fucking work, man. And I wanted to go crazy with that paint job. And there's a lot of new shit with these too. So that's very good. Those are actually my very first painted eyeballs. So
really, look at those. They look wonderful, man. I think you knocked it out of the park. I know you were a little scared when you were showing me some of the early, but I was like, no, dude, I like the way that these ones kind of pop. You know, I like the bone
That's my
look.
first ever spine anything I've done. So I really went for it with those, you know.
But yeah, everybody go follow fucking Niko on Etsy. Get some of his arts. He's got prints. I mean, you don't even have to you could try to gun for the guitar strap. Yes, these things are valuable. But then again, I'm sure you get people hitting you up all the time like, yeah, dude, so would you take $25 for the guitar strap? Which is ridiculous. I'm sure people try to lowball you all the fucking time.
That's just the cost of the materials, dude. Not even. And then the best analogy, I'll end it with this. Just if anyone's always wondering why is it so expensive and blah. It's like, okay, you have a car, right? And you have a problem. You go to the fucking car parts store. It's like, oh wow, the parts are cheap. And then you go and get it installed, and the fucking labor is what makes it expensive. But then it's like, all right, well, I got to get it done, and then your money's well spent because you weren't going to do it yourself because you don't want to take the risk working on that car. And then, you're getting your money's worth out of it, So it's like the materials and artwork stuff is fairly cheap. It's the labor that makes the price high, and I'm absolutely never going to compromise on my quality, the hand painted aspect, any of that shit. It's always going to be 100% authentic from me, even if I have to raise the price to match what the work is to go into it.
Wow.
Well,
that's why these straps are a little... Go ahead.
I was going to say, not only that, but the experience. I mean, you've had literally one-on-ones with legends. You had one-on-one lessons with legends. So it's like...
Yeah.
If he's not going to do it, but even if he would, it'd be like $500, $600, thousands of dollars to get that experience. And that's adds on to the theoretical materials. And then
Yep.
how many years do you want to fail before you do it? Do you want to have a workshop like he has behind him, or do you just want to pay for the fucking strap? You know what I mean? Like it's pretty simple.
Seriously.
It's pretty fucking simple if you think about it.
And that's the thing too about this medium, and especially not even just this medium, but like what I'm putting this medium onto. So like the guitar strap stuff. I mean, you have to really take into account, like, there's special glues you got to use. There's the materials that like will not stick to that cured glue. There's so much shit you have to put into with just making. I mean, it just, you see this when you see the finished product or something, you're like, oh, it's a thing, right? But you don't like realize like what goes into just the sculpture, the mold making, the casting, the fucking prepping, the gluing, the cleaning, the sanding, the priming, the sealing, everything. So it's like, one thing I would suggest for people getting into this is to realize that like this is almost like the blue collar of art, because you're getting really into the nitty and the gritty and the messy and the like really fucking complicated shit with in terms of building than it is just getting some paintbrushes, some acrylic paint, and a canvas. You know what I mean? Like it's like construction, the construction version of art. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So what I would suggest to people wanting to get into it is to start small. Don't go sculpting full face mask. Like I haven't even done that yet, right? Like experiment with it and don't be intimidated by the failure, because when I first even started to do my first molds, I have like a bucket of fucking failed molds when I first did it, because everything came out looking like Swiss cheese and just fucked up, and I just kept hitting brick walls. But what got me through it was, you know, obviously extremely grateful for all the experiences with the legends that have taught me. But honestly, like most of what I know is from research and failure. Those two combined is like why I'm where I'm at. You know,
so you did need a computer chip for this.
Oh shit! Homie wasn't in the library, huh? Getting those authentic page turns in, huh?
Just like a plaster mold making from the 70s and shit. Yeah.
Oh, and it's got some really bad fucking chemical bonds in there.
Like
it's probably got some really sketchy shit.
Small type diagram, like on paper,
use chlorine and fucking bleach. Mix them together and mix it, you know, or dude, who knows? You probably back then you wouldn't even be wearing a fucking mask. Just breathing that shit in.
The fumes will help with creativity.
That's the other thing too. The other big recommendation is get your protective equipment. I mean, I work with gas, ammonia, fucking the glue that they use for PVC pipes, which smells fucking terrible. I work with a lot of chemicals, and again, I think that's why a lot of people are shied away from doing this medium, because of it's very intimidating, and that's why for the longest time I just stuck with clay. I was like, oh, latex, I don't know, mold making, plaster, it's all very scary to me. And it's like you gotta dive into it. So again, biggest suggestion is don't let it scare you. Start small and be prepared to fuck up a lot. But by fucking up a lot, you're going to unlock a lot of new skills and materials and things you can do that a lot of people won't even fucking attempt to do. They'll go and do a word prompt or get a digital pen, and that's as far as they'll go sometimes, because they do not want to get messy. You know what I mean? It's
incredible.
Yeah, so...
Well, Niko, I want to thank you so much for lending your time to Pour Form.
Of course.
Zane and I'm
Awesome
speaking for Zane, but I thank you so much for blessing us with your time, your expertise, and I want to encourage people to stop by Niko's Etsy store, pick something up, get a print, get a coffee mug, get a cool. He's got mouse pads and cool stuff. Like if you don't have enough keychains on the way, if you don't have enough room on the wall for like a big crazy elaborate piece, get something small. I think you've done good at kind of covering the field as far as knickknacks and such. So we look forward to having you on the podcast again. We would definitely love to dive deeper into music with you, But
Yeah, man.
Zane, if
Thanks
there's
for having me,
anything else
guys.
you'd like to add on to that.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I think it was a perfect Halloween episode. This will be dropping right on the 31st.
Yeah, shit.
So perfect
True.
Halloween. Go check out his art at the very least, just because it's cool to see, cool to look at,
Yeah,
and it'll
follow
get
him
you
on Instagram.
It'll
Follow
get
him on
you-
Instagram. Niko Kala art.
It'll get you in that
Instagram,
holiday
Facebook.
spirit.
TikTok, whatever your poison is.
Yeah, because it's all fucking
Awesome.
poison. Thanks for that one. All right, we're out of here. Hey, have a good one, guys.
All right, boys.
For everyone that made it this far, hey, cool. We'll see you next
Hey,
week.
you're a real
Yeah,
one for
thank
that,
you.
G. Peace out, guys.
Later.